It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you're waking up in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We got a whole morning planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and give us a call. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, the state of Colorado's finally writing a check bill that I approve of.
Oh, yeah? Are we getting paid? For you and I, we're getting is it some sort of the Jared Polis?
You know, it's close.
Fan check. It's a no,
no,
we're not
but we're not getting it. But some good people are.
I'm a little sad. Okay, well,
1.5 million going from the state coffers to somebody that is deserving it. We'll get to that.
Ooh, can't wait to see.
A Trump court stay on the New York Manhattan Alvin Bragg case. We'll be covering that as well. We're also going to talk to Jack Crumley from NBC National News Correspondent on the update on Ukraine. Matt Gaetz will talk about Trump's got some land to do his deportations with. And Jenna Griswold, she took some time off yesterday.
Oh, did she? Okay,
yeah,
great.
It's been a busy few weeks for Jenna. She's been investigating herself over leaked passwords to these voting machines.
I'm sure it's a very thorough investigation.
Very thorough investigation.
Yes,
she said,
all sorts of time.
You know what? There's something very important. I need to go down to the state capitol, make sure I take care of, and that's supporting labor unions.
Oh, it's not a bad thing. Labor unions are good. They help. They're one of the reasons we have. They're one of the reasons we have a lot of the protections we have right now as far as workers are largely due to the labor unions. I'm not certain why the Secretary of State needs to be there. Well, again, they're the reason we have a lot of the worker protections we have right now. That's why we don't have child labor laws and other stuff. It's a lot of that is unions. So, the unions have done a lot of good.
We'll get into all of it, and I can tell Billy and I are going to kick it off bright and early this morning. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Let's get it going. Let's start the fight right now in the 6 o'clock hour. I'm getting ready for it on Hump Day. Good morning, Jeff and Billy. 20 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 50 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, President Biden has approved sending anti-personnel landmines to Ukraine in its war against Russia. Multiple reports said Tuesday that the U.S. expects Ukraine to use the mines in its own territory, where Russian troops have made significant advances. This comes a day after Biden approved U.S.-made missiles to be fired into Russia.
On December 15, 2021, Putin put on the table a draft Russia-U.S. security agreement. You can find it online. The basis of it is no NATO enlargement. I called the White House that next week after that, begging them,
You know what? That was the old Jeffrey Sachs. Let me hear last night Jeffrey Sachs. Sorry about that.
So this is America shooting missiles into deep Russian territory. Right. Americans doing this. This is the point people need to understand. And the Russians said, if you do this, we are at war with you. Well, thank you, Mr. Biden. You do not have the constitutional authority for that. You may not have the mental competency for that. You certainly have not had any deliberations with the American people or with our representatives in Congress about this. And you reversed a decision from 2 weeks ago without any justification on your way out after your administration was repudiated. It's a disgrace.
Once again, that's Jeffrey Sachs last night. It's obvious that the left or Democrats, Biden administration, who knows, the deep state, globalist, military, industrial complex is trying to get us into war right before DJT takes office. There have been reports that Russia has said, hey, they're holding off until Trump takes office because they know they can negotiate with him and try to end this war. Thank God. But the deep state continues to try and sabotage DJT. And Trump is naming transition co-chair Linda McMahon as education secretary. McMahon directed the Small Business Administration during Trump's first term, and the former CEO of WWE, which is founded with her husband, Vince McMahon.
This seems like a flat pick.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think. I'd love to hear what our listeners too. But she headed up the SBA in Trump's first term. Great. She's committed to the president's agenda. Great. No problems with that. But I thought we were shutting this thing down.
I did too. Maybe that's what she's going to do. And then there won't be a lot of, maybe it'll just be really small department. I thought, I agree with you. I thought it was going to shut it down. But when I look at it, I'm like, well, they can't do any worse. So, you know,
no, I mean, there's a lot of directions they could take that where it would be terrible. But, you know, I kind of saw that come through and I was like, well, I thought maybe a real education choice finder. There's lots of them out there. And this was not on my bingo card at all. No, so we'll have to see how she does.
No, there's a method to the madness. I mean, you would think. But yeah, that was kind of a shocker, but I thought they were going to leave it up to the states from this point on. We'll see. A hacker has reportedly gained access to testimony in investigations into former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, Trump's pick for AG. He has been accused of sexual misconduct, but has never criminally been charged and has denied any wrongdoing. But the smear continues, and here's Sunny Hostin on The View.
How could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking across state lines and having sex with a 17-year-old? My understanding further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex with her.
But then 3 minutes later, she was forced to read this.
Sonny, you have a legal note. I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought. We'll be right back.
If you watch the video, and if you've ever seen those hostage videos where people are forced to read things that they fundamentally disagree with, like to their core.
Yes.
That was Sunny yesterday. You could see her lips quiver. Yeah. And she gets kind of this like scowly look on her face. And she's so frustrated that the lawyers are like, no, you need to sit down and you need to read this because we're going to get sued to oblivion for your comments on this. So
they're going to be reading that a lot over the next month, I'm sure. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is offering a $5 million reward for each hostage released from Gaza. He made the announcement Tuesday on a visit to Gaza, where Israel estimates around 100 captives are still being held. Talk show host Alex Jones is suing The Onion. Attorneys for Jones filed a lawsuit Monday claiming the satirical website submitted an illegitimate bid for the assets of Jones's parent company. Last week, The Onion said it was buying InfoWars and planning to relaunch the conservative website as another satirical website. The man who was reportedly armed is dead after being shot by a Littleton police officer Tuesday morning. Littleton PD said an officer attempted to make a traffic stop at West Bellevue and Keeneland Court when the suspect left the vehicle and then pointed a weapon at the officers. He allegedly fired several rounds at the officer, who returned fire. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition and died of his injuries. The officer was not injured and is currently on administrative leave while it's being investigated. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. Deion Sanders says that he's not planning to leave anytime soon. The CU head football coach dismissed rumors about him potentially leaving the program for another job, including the NFL. It's way early. A lot of things could happen in the next few weeks.
Well, and I'm thrilled to hear that. I like this guy.
No, that's great. But Jackson State thought that as well 3 years ago. So remember that. They take on Kansas this weekend. So there are just a ton of things that could happen in that thing. 16 in Castle Rock, 17 in Golden, 20 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's hump day. Hey, here we go. Time for the arguments. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Colorado will find itself wedged between two big storms, one to our east, one to our west. We're going to be in the high pressure in between. So nice weather through Saturday. Cool today, warming to the upper 40s and near 50, upper 20s and low 30s tonight. We're going to be in the upper 50s and lower 60s and dry for Thursday, for Friday, for Saturday. Increasingly cloudy Sunday, late Sunday into Monday, our next chance is snow. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Money, money, money. The state of Colorado is writing a check to somebody out there. Most of the time, I'm not thrilled about where the state of Colorado is sending its money, like the $5 million towards wolf reintroduction that we talked about yesterday. But in this case, this is good. $1.5 million the state of Colorado is going to be paying to Alliance Defending Freedom and Lori Smith for violating their constitutional rights. To conclude a lawsuit brought by Alliance Defending Freedom attorneys, the state of Colorado has agreed to pay more than $1.5 million in attorney's fees for violating the First Amendment rights of graphic artist Lori Smith and her design studio 303 Creative. The fee settlement comes after the U.S. Supreme Court's historic ruling in 303 Creative versus Elenis, upholding free speech for all Americans in the district court's final judgment requiring Colorado officials to comply with the First Amendment and allow Smith to speak consistently with her beliefs. This was a 7-year battle against the state. And congratulations to Lori Smith and ADF. Get some money after all the time they had to put into this defending the free speech rights of Americans. Jack Phillips deserves like $150 million, in my opinion.
I don't know that much, but yeah, he's been wronged. Yeah, that's fair.
So they're going to clear that up. Congratulations to ADF. All right. Democrats are planning a bill to remove Colorado's unique barrier to union organizing. But to the rescue to probably stop this, Jared Polis.
Again, the interesting side he's chosen, but
yeah,
okay.
He's done that in the past. He does not like these pro-union bills. Flanked by dozens, this comes from the Denver Post, by the way, flanked by dozens of union members, a group of Colorado Democrats unveiled legislation Tuesday to remove a unique barrier to union organizing in the state. The proposal, which will not be introduced until the legislative session starts in early January, they're getting an early jump on this, would repeal an 81-year-old requirement that unions in Colorado pass a second election before they can begin negotiating union dues and fees. Colorado is the only state with such a rule, legislators said, and they cast the measure as a way to remove an additional government requirement from union-employer negotiations. Federal law requires new unions to pass one election to form, though some states have so-called, quote, right-to-work laws, unquote, that don't require all employees in a unionized shop to pay dues or be a member of the union that represents them. The Colorado legislation, dubbed the Worker Protection Act, will be backed by Denver Democratic reps Javier Mabry and Jennifer Bacon, as well as Senators Jesse Danielson of Wheat Ridge and Robert Rodriguez, also of Denver. Jenna Griswold standing there proudly, taking some time off from investigating herself off the leaked passwords to these voting machines. Question to you, question to the listeners. It's a good use of time and energy. Is this what Colorado needs to be focused in right now on? Unionizing?
I don't see the negative on this one. It seems to be fairly pro forma. Again, it's our Colorado legislature, so they're going to drag it out and make it take much longer than it should and have dumb arguments about it and dumb conversations. But doesn't seem to be necessarily any real logical reason to say that you've got to have the two elections. If it's okay based on federal law, okay, it doesn't mean that you're going to have a large swath of union membership all of a sudden in Colorado. It doesn't mean that you're going to get unions shutting down or striking all the time. It just says they're going to follow federal law. Seems to me much ado about nothing. I have no idea why Jenna Griswold, the Secretary of State's down there. That seems just dumb. But, you know,
because she's a perfect picture of our elected officials in Colorado. She is at her core a leftist progressive activist, and she's totally incompetent in what she actually needs to be doing. So I'm like, perfect picture of everything we have to deal with here.
I don't know. And the thing for me is that's I don't see the necessary negatives that everybody else sees in union membership. I dislike public unions. And I dislike things like the teachers' unions and police unions and things. I dislike public unions only because the consumer has no other choice. If the teachers go on strike with their union, the parents and the children don't have another choice. If the grocery workers go on strike, I have another grocery store. That's why I also dislike monopolies deep in my soul. I hate them with a burning passion that is reserved for very few other things because it constrains our choice. Choice and competition does help and does create things. And I do believe that inside of unions, it is worker protections. And they're the reasons that we have some of the wages. They're the reasons we have the child labor laws. They're the reasons that we have certain safety protocols in and around your employer. There are reasons. The reasons that we have a 40-hour work week is because of unions. So they do good things. Do they spin out of control when they have to continue to do things? Yes. And a great example of that are the labor unions, especially some of the Teamster units you have in New York City, where they are restricted on what type of stuff you can move based on your job. That's dumb. And,
they're like little mobs.
Yes. And when you get into an organization, and this is where I push back on the unions, when you're in the organization, you're like, no, my employees can only do this. Shut up. Stop it.
Oh, it's lame.
Yeah,
and I've had to pay
ridiculous.
For it.
Yeah,
I've absolutely had to pay.
And it's absolutely stupid because that's the barrier that makes unions dislikable. That's the barrier that for the consumer, for the average person, makes unions ineffective. As long as the unions are protecting the workers and their ability to earn and their ability to have a safe working environment, sure, stop constraining whether or not our jobs. And here's a great example. Recently, they were doing a radio remote, and someone else in the crew had something they had to go and do. So I did something that was normally their job. I did that. I don't care. But if I was in a union, I would be prevented from doing that. And that is asinine. That's the dumb part where unions become their own worst enemy.
Would you support right to work, which is essentially the idea that not everybody that works for that particular company has to join the union.
Yes.
They don't have to use their own money to go towards union dues.
Yes. However, I also would put a constraint on the benefits from the union that they get. And so what I would say is you can have a right to work and you don't get the dues, but if they get a raise, your raise is less. If they negotiate, extra vacation, you get less. If they lower healthcare costs, your healthcare costs stay high. You do not get the benefits of the union by not participating in the union. And I think that would be fair. And I think that, and the idea being then the employer and employee can make that sort of a choice. And I think that would be a fair way to make the decisions. That I would not. If you're not going to pay the union dues, if you're not going to participate, you should not reap the benefits of that.
So I have a little bit of a different take, as you can imagine. So let's kick it off Wednesday morning on the Jeff and Bill Show. I hate unions. They're so bad. All right. I understand that in the past they have achieved some important things like ending child labor. Okay. And unions weren't part of that, but they weren't the entire reason. But yes, they did achieve that like a while ago. But here's what we have with our current unions. They're entirely motivated. Like their emphasis is to represent the interest of the workers, okay? Not quality production, not client services, none of that stuff. Is the interest of the workers. And in doing that, they throw all these wrenches into the problems. So as you mentioned, with teachers, for instance, in these teachers unions, it's often very difficult to get rid of bad teachers because of these teachers unions, because they basically create these systems where it's nearly impossible to fire them. So we're not motivated to care for the student, to provide quality education. No, we're just protecting the rights of incompetent teachers from being fired. That's a problem for me. And then I had to deal with this over and over and over again down with the Western Conservative Summit when we went down to the Colorado Convention Center. The unions have negotiated relationships with the Colorado Convention Center. You have to use their guys. Well, I didn't want to use their guys because, one, I didn't think they were all that interested in representing what we wanted to do, so I was concerned about the quality of the work. I'm talking about the cameramen, the lighters, the guys that light the stage, the sound techs, the production guys, the guys who build the stage, all that stuff. I had to use the Denver union guys. Had to. But I didn't want to. So I hired my own guys from a very high quality organization that I inherited from John Andrews, used them. And then I wrote a check, Bill, for a guy to sit there and scroll his phone 8 hours.
Yeah.
I was required by law in the city of Denver to either hire these guys and deal with them, and they're not interested in quality, or write them a check to sit there one by one, a one-to-one match. So for every one cameraman I hired, I had to pay one union guy to not do anything. For every one sound guy I had to hire, I had to pay one sound guy not to do anything. It was extortion from these unions, and it drove me crazy.
I disagree with an extortion because you made the choice. It wasn't necessarily, you made the choice to go and make that, and you brought in a separate group.
I had to use, by law, I had to use who Denver picked. There was no choice there.
Yeah, no, but it was your choice to bring in external people, and you assumed they weren't going to be able to do the job. You've said that twice inside your explanation.
I've seen them.
Yeah, but
they're terrible.
I disagree with that. I see productions and things down at the Denver Center all the time, and they are perfectly fine.
No,
they execute things all the time.
No, they are not nearly as good as the guys we wanted. I did not have a choice. I had to. Being forced to use one crew that the city of Denver tells me I have to use, that's not choice.
But you made the choice to pay the extra money. I understand that, but you're just mad. You're just mad that you made,
because it's extortion.
But you decided they weren't good enough. Okay, fine. Go somewhere else or do something else. And that's fine. You did go somewhere else. There is your choice.
Eventually we did, yeah.
But again, that's your choice. That when you go there, you don't go to McDonald's and say, why aren't you guys giving me tacos? The expectation for when you go to McDonald's is they serve the burgers and the chicken, not the tacos. So you don't do that. You can go to Burger King and get tacos right now, which is kind of cool. They're not that bad. But that's the issue, is you don't have to necessarily go that direction and go with them. And you assume that their work quality is going to be subpar.
It is.
And if it is, again, I understand. I don't understand how you're coming to that conclusion without working with them.
I've seen it.
But I've seen other things that are good, and I'm sure you've seen them do good work as well. You haven't seen
the
them
union
always
guys?
do.
No, I've never seen the union guys do good work.
Ever?
No. Not once. Not one time. And it was why we were essentially forced to. So I got to put on a bad show with sound problems, tech problems, lighting problems for our audience, or hire a separate crew and pay a guy to sit around and do nothing the whole time. That's not a choice. This is partly why I don't think people want to come and do shows in Denver anymore. This is why I hate unions.
No, they do. Denver's is a stop for shows quite a bit, and we get a lot of the big ones.
The convention center.
Yeah, especially at DCPA and stuff like that. Yeah, that's again your opinion based on their quality. I have not had the experience in union workers having necessarily subpar work all the time.
Do you think it's okay for the city of Denver to do that though? To say you have to hire these people?
Yeah. If it's a contract,
you were just all about choice. You were just talking about all about choice.
Yeah, because you have a choice to go somewhere else. Yes. Yeah. If they say, and here's the reason why, guess what? When you go and you do something that is a setup at something like the Natural History Museum, they have an in-house staff. If you don't use their staff, there's a barrier there. Sometimes they won't let you do things there if you don't hire their staff that they already have in place. They don't let you come in and bring in all sorts of outside things, food and other preparations.
So help me understand how you're okay with that when you were just all talking about how great choice is.
Because I have a choice to go somewhere else. If we can only do events at the convention center, that's a lack of choice. But as long as I have other venues where I can go somewhere else, and it doesn't have to be
there's not a lot out there. But again, really not.
There's Gaylord of the Rockies. There are other places you can go and do that.
Expenses. But go out to the Gaylord of the Rockies.
I know, but they're not union, so deal with it. They fulfill your goal. So you chose somewhere else, and they were very expensive. So that's the issue. As long as there are other choices, if the convention center is the only place to do it in all of Metro Denver, then you have a lack of choice. And there are all sorts of things like that because you have all sorts of choices based on car dealerships, based on gas stations, based on restaurants that deliver different levels of quality and expectation.
Why is it important to you that the convention center, which is owned by the city, by the way, it's not a private event.
Yeah,
it's a public event, has the mandate to force people that want to rent that location to pay subpar unions to do the work?
Here's the thing. You keep qualifying it by subpar.
I disagree. Subpar. 100%.
Okay. I disagree with that qualification on the
but then
I
why,
don't believe,
but
I don't believe that all union workers are subpar. I am not going to broad brush and paint them. Are there going to be weaknesses in the system? Yes, but guess what? In private employers, there are also weaknesses in the system. I've been in private employers where I have had people that are absolutely a waste of space, and there's no reason they should be drawing a paycheck. So it's not unusual that happens inside the union. What I disagree with is your assumption all union workers suck.
Okay, but I
disagree with that.
Let's say that they're okay. Why is it okay for the city of Denver to mandate to people that they have to hire them?
They don't have to. They can go somewhere else. What? I don't understand why you're laughing about this.
Oh my gosh, because you on one hand you were all about choice.
Yes, I am all about choice.
And now you're like, yeah, your choice is to leave.
No, your choice is to choose a different
venue.
Choice. Yes, it is.
This is like saying to the people who got the vax mandate, you had a choice to get a different job.
Yeah, you did. Absolutely, it did.
It's not choice.
Yes, it is.
Somebody has the gun to your head. It's not a choice.
Hang on. If I come and walk across the door, if I walk across the hall today and they walk into our general manager's office and I say, I need more money to do this job, and they say no, what's my choice? I still have a choice, don't I? I have a choice to continue to do the job at the rate I'm being paid or go find another job. If the boss came in today and said, we are cutting your salaries by 15%, effective 2 months from now, we have a choice. We can continue to be employed here, or we can walk out that door and go somewhere else. That's why I disagree with your premise on the vaccine mandates as well. Everyone was allowed a choice. And part of the idea of the right to work is giving the employee and the employer that choice. So I'm okay with that.
Yes.
And I'm saying as long as we don't have one restaurant, as long as you don't have one car dealership, as long as you just don't have one place you can go and shop to get clothes, and you don't have one place you can go and put on your event, you have choice. All of those organizations are, in my mind, free to make the choices they want in order to draw the people and the commerce. They are free to make it, and then based on the choices that venue makes, I can make my choice as well. There are concert venues I won't go to here in the city because they make different choices in how they put on a show, and I'm fine with that.
The city of Denver has created a system that benefits these unions at the expense of quality and forces vendors that want to rent their locations into one of two choices. You either have to go with this arbitrary system they have set up that forces you to hire inexperienced, subpar union members, or you have to go somewhere else. I don't think that that's choice. I don't consider it a good practice for the city of Denver, and I don't think we should be strengthening unions in Colorado. That's where I stand. Let's get to your phone calls. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Should we be strengthening unions in Colorado? Jared Polis, weary of this. He's voted down some of these union strengthening things in the past, but Democrats down at the state capitol, including Jenna Griswold and others, planning a bill to remove Colorado's unique barrier to union organizing. Would want to hear from you. Is this good for the state, or is this just further progressive policies that are going to destroy the state? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us at 720-819-5115. Do you know a high school student passionate about engaging in culture and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics, with an emphasis in public policy, prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics from an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. We'll get to your phone calls as they're coming in. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Governor Greg Abbott is taking a victory lap after the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics released their employment data over the last year ending in October, revealing that 274,600 non-farm jobs were added in the state of Texas, which is far more, he said, than any other state. The governor is saying Texas is where the future of America is building, with the best business climate in the nation and a skilled and growing workforce. Texas is where innovative entrepreneurs and businesses find the freedom and tools needed to succeed. The report shows that Texas is growing jobs at a faster annual rate than the U.S. The Lone Star State also set a record high for the number of Texans working and for the size of the Texas labor force. Texas has added more than 2.4 million jobs under Governor Abbott's leadership. Jersey Mike's, the quickly expanding sandwich chain, is being acquired by the private equity firm Blackstone in a deal valued at $8 billion. The company said that the transaction is, quote, intended to help enable Jersey Mike's to accelerate its expansion across and beyond the U.S. market. Jersey Mike's founder and CEO will continue to lead the business and maintains a significant equity stake in the chain. Jersey Mike's has expanded rapidly over the last decade, growing from 857 stores in 2014 to more than 2,800 this year. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Awayo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy and I kicking it off over unions early on. Democrats are planning a bill to remove Colorado's unique barrier to union organizing, but Governor Jared Polis is leery of this. You know, he's got these kind of unique moments where, you know, he kind of speaks out against this stuff. He writes this, Polis is leery of the need for a new bill to open the Labor Peace Act that serves the state and workers so well, referring to a 1943 state law that includes the second election requirement. Any changes to the Labor Peace Act would need to find common ground with employers and businesses and labor. And the governor is deeply skeptical that the bill, without a heavily negotiated aspect of that, would be able to pass. So,
yeah, I mean, for this bill, if I'm in the legislature, not a hill I'm going to die on. I think it makes sense to have it align with what the federal rules and regulations are. You're not mandating union membership, and Colorado does have right to work laws. So to me, it's just putting it in line with the feds. But is it a hill that if I was in the legislature, I'm going to die on? No, because I don't think that it's necessarily a barrier for union organization either. So I'm not convinced that this rule prevents union organization or them doing what they need to. So I don't think it has to be removed. Bring it in line with the feds. Okay. But it is funny, as you brought up, that Jenna Griswold's down there. Although, you know, that the reason Polis is doing this is because it's so that he can still show up on Fox and they can call him a libertarian. Right. That's exactly what it is. He needs to hang on to that title, because if he does this and he leans in with the unions, they're going to have to introduce him as the liberal or the Democrat. So he does this. He can still keep that chyron. He can still keep that tag when he goes on to Fox News. They can still talk about him being a libertarian, even though he's not.
No, not at all.
No,
and
not least.
and he there's no way he's the president. He's not nearly as interesting or engaging enough to do that. He basically purchased his 2 seats as governor, his 2 terms as governor. He wrote $27 million out of his own pocket. He was his single largest own fundraiser, was himself. So what does he do afterwards?
Also, on a side note, we should all remember what happened in this previous election. We should all remember the giant war chest that the Democrats had. They'd raised $1 billion with Kamala. Yeah. Just remember that the next time a politician comes out and tells you the other side had more money, what am I going to do? How am I going to win? Donald Trump had far less money. Yeah. He still won. So again, when someone comes out and says the other side has more money, excuses, people, excuses. And Polis has been able to get money behind him. The thing for me is I'm never going to get a Christmas card from him after this. He's a charisma vacuum.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the problem, is that he sucks charisma out from other people around him that actually do have it. That's the problem. He's a black hole of charisma. Seems like a nice man. I'm certain that if we had dinner, we could have a nice conversation. Everything would be cool. I got nothing there with him. But the issue being that he doesn't have the presence, in my mind, to get to the Oval Office. Yep. And the example I give, the current president-elect. Dude has piles of charisma, and he basically used that to frog stomp all the Republicans in 2015 and did it again. And that's part of it. It was. And part of what the barrier was for Kamala back in 2020 was a lack of charisma. And that was some of what hurt her in her interviews when she was out there freeforming it, is she wasn't as charismatic as Donald Trump was in those open conversations.
Lots of text messages coming in. This one, 2033. Bill, it's rare you and I get hit in the same text message.
I know.
Normally they bounce back and forth.
Yeah, normally it's I hate you.
2033. Another morning with KNUS and my breakfast. Another morning cringing at Jeff and evangelicals. And another morning saying out loud, STFU, Bill.
Again, here's the thing is I so appreciate that you say things out loud inside of your home towards me, because I do the same thing. I do. I talk to the screen and I'll talk to the radio. And yes, so I appreciate you. I get it. And I appreciate you spending time with us and spending breakfast with us. And thank you so much for yelling at me.
Well, Bill, I know there's another thing you appreciate.
Yeah, I appreciate not living my life in pain and suffering. I had been getting to that point in my life where, I watched my grandparents when I was younger, and it's like, oh, when you get old, things just hurt. Well, that doesn't have to be the case. I want you to talk to my friends at Balance Well Space. I used to live my life in daily pain. Now it is gone. It is ridiculous how good I feel. I'm feeling 10, 15, almost 20 years younger. It is really remarkable because The difference at Balance Well Space is integrative medicine. That means you have a whole bunch of different treatments that are all contained under one roof. And that means chiropractic care, neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and a whole bunch of cutting edge Star Trek level stuff that really has to be seen to be believed. All non-invasive, and you've got a chance to go and browse it, kick the tires a little bit for free. Coming up on Tuesday, December 3rd, 5 p.m., there's going to be an open house at Balance Well Space. They're located in Lowry, brand new offices right across from Hangar 2. Make sure you contact them at balancewellspace.com to reserve your space. It's going to be an open house. You'll get complimentary wine, cheese, crackers. They're going to talk to you about bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, and you'll also get to talk about some of the other things that they can do for you as well. Tell them what's hurting you. But again, it's a focus on the hormones, and that's something that I've done with them. I didn't think this was an issue for me. But you know how you were little and you're like, Mom, I don't want to take a nap. I don't want to take a nap. Yeah, and now it gets to our age and you're in the middle of the afternoon and you're like, oh, I just want to take a nap. Can't I just take a nap? I know it's like the circle of life. It's awful. But part of the reason that you're running down and you're feeling out of sorts in the afternoon is because your hormones aren't there. Your hormones were running wild when we were younger. Now, just like everything else, it's slowing down. Tell me about that metabolism. Yeah. So this basically regenerates. It's not regenerating. They're generating is the stuff I'm doing on my knee, but this is replacing the hormones. They're bioidentical inside of your body. So you get that boost of energy. You feel like you do in your 20s. It is amazing. It's not something you're doing every day or even every week. This is an occasional therapy that reloads your hormones so that they go ahead and get released in your body so you feel like you did decades ago. So coming up on December 3rd, a Tuesday, 5 o'clock, complimentary wine and cheese. It's an open house. Reserve your space. It is limited because they only have a certain size of the office. So make sure you contact them at balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. Also, it's a great opportunity to go there and talk to Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, the entire medical team, and talk to them about what hurts and what they can do to make you feel better. The difference that I've experienced is nothing short of remarkable, and I really want them to be able to make the same change in your life. Reach out to them today. Reserve your space December 3rd, 5 p.m. balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. And when you do, tell me you heard about it here on Jeff and Bill because it helps us out.
Great to hear, Bill. We'll continue. You choose the news coming up. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to take a moment from debating the benefits of unions. Laugh a little bit with You Choose the New.
Yes, it's that time of the morning where we get to take our careers and our future in our tiny little hands. It's what we call You Choose the News, America's favorite fake radio news game show. We have scoured the interwebs this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans. It's really shocking how easy it is. And then we've given them even more dumb and ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Nobody in charge has any idea that we waste valuable airtime and resources doing it. But that's how we roll. Yes, and remember, this is our little secret. Shh. The people in charge to make the decisions don't wake up for another 8 minutes. So we got a little bit of time here. And while we are left unsupervised, this is what happens. Lesson for all parents. Alrighty. So, gentlemen, Jeff Hunt in the studio and Blake Olson joining us from the newsroom. Here are your stories today, sirs. Headline number 1, Trump lowers housing costs. Headline number 2, should have seen it coming. Headline number 3, it'll be cold. And headline number 4,
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you.
Alrighty. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
I'm going to let Blake take that one. Let's do Trump lowers housing costs.
Alrighty. Trump lowering housing costs already. What the heck? He is not even in office, and already he is bringing the cost of housing down in Italy. Yes, in Italy. The island of Sardinia has started an advertising campaign reaching out to Americans that are disillusioned about our most recent election. They are saying that, hey, for as little as just €1, a little more than $1, you can come on over here and own a home. They have, in the island of Sardinia, they have got a little bit of a population problem. They have been shedding population over the last number of years. It's gone down from 2,200 in the recent past to below 1,150 residents. They're trying to repopulate the island, and they know a lot of Americans have been talking about just leaving the country. So they have launched a website focused on Americans and would-be American expats, offering up cheap homes in the hope that they would be so upset they would rush to the island of Sardinia and have a house for just the low, low price of $1. Yeah.
Googling island of Sardinia now.
It's actually it's really gorgeous. It's a gorgeous place, but again, having to move and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. All right. Yeah. Okay. So Blake Olson in the newsroom. Your choices are should have seen it coming. It'll be cold. And
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you.
Mr. Olson, your choice.
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you.
Oh, you are my favorite. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Now, here's the thing. Hellfire may be the latest green energy source. You never know. Maybe Satan is going to help us get off the fossil fuels, and that's what has Tucker Carlson worried. Yes, Tucker Carlson on a recent War Room podcast hosted by Steve Bannon said that he believes the one thing we should not do is lean into nuclear weapons and nuclear energy because they are, quote, demonic. Yes. He says that spiritually, he believes that the U.S. development of the atomic bombs were focused by Satan. And he said, let me ask you this. What was the moment we can point to that nuclear technology was invented? I've never met a person who can isolate the moment where nuclear technology became known to man. German scientists in the 30s? Oh, really? Name the date. It's clear to me. This is obviously the work of Satan. Yes, Tucker Carlson believes that Satan is how we got nuclear energy and bombs. That's comforting.
One of the few things I disagree with Tucker.
I just say there might be some Japanese that agree with him on that.
Yeah. Recently, though, he said he was attacked by demons in his sleep.
True.
So maybe Satan was mad at him for doing the thing about the nuclear energy. That Tucker has finally figured it out. And so then he sent the demons to attack him in his sleep. And Tucker's a weird dude. Okay. Alrighty, Mr. Hunt, your final choice, sir. Should have seen it coming or it'll be cold.
Should have seen it coming.
Yeah, should have seen it coming. That's what we say about a woman from Sydney. Tina Montana, 47, was recently arrested following a search warrant at her residence. And I got to say it because she lives on Punch Bowl Road. That's fantastic. So I just had to throw that one in. So she was arrested recently for fraud. She is formally charged with 13 offenses, including identity theft, money laundering, participating in organized crime groups, group fraud, and hindering the discovery of evidence. But she should have seen it coming because they're charging her with being a fake psychic. Yes, it was a psychic fraud ring that was scamming a whole bunch of people in the area, and she is now like the 7th or 8th person that's been charged.
Speaking of demonic.
Yeah, again, she should have seen it coming.
Don't go to those psychics. They're a waste of money.
Wait,
all right.
You mean Miss Cleo's lying to me?
Right. We're going to get into Ukraine next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Can I predict if you'll join us again?
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We've got an entire show planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, we're going to talk with Jack Crumley. He's an NBC national correspondent about Ukraine and the changes that are happening there. Is this all a push, a run-up until Donald Trump trying to negotiate peace Russia trying to get as much land as it possibly can. Ukraine trying to push back as much as it can. We're going to get those details. You're not going to want to miss this conversation. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. 21 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 50 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the man who was reportedly armed is dead after being shot by a Littleton police officer Tuesday morning. Littleton PD said an officer attempted to make a traffic stop at West Bellevue and Keeneland Court when the suspect left the vehicle and pointed a weapon at officers. He allegedly fired several rounds at the officer, who returned fire. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition and died of his injuries. The officer was not injured and is currently on administrative leave while it's investigated. The U.S. is closing its embassy in Ukraine after warning of a possible significant air attack by Russian forces. I wonder why. The embassy in Kiev issued the urgent warning this morning, saying it had received specific information about a potential attack and that its employees should shelter in place. On Tuesday, U.S.-made missiles were fired into Russia.
So this is America shooting missiles into deep Russian territory. Right. Americans doing this. This is the point people need to understand. And the Russians said, if you do this, we are at war with you. Well, thank you, Mr. Biden. You do not have the constitutional authority for that. You may not have the mental competency for that. You certainly have not had any deliberations with the American people or with our representatives in Congress about this. And you reversed a decision from 2 weeks ago without any justification on your way out after your administration was repudiated. It's a
That's Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Biden, while all this is going on, he wrapped up his trip to Rio, where he continued the fight against climate change. Thank goodness he was taking care of that. A leader from the world of pro wrestling will be DJT's pick for Education Secretary. Linda McMahon is the former CEO of WWE, which she founded with her husband, of course, Vince McMahon. She also directed the Small Business Administration during Trump's first term. Representative Nancy Mace introduces a U.S. Capitol bathroom rule. She tries to do that before transgender Sarah McBride of Virginia is sworn in a couple of weeks.
Congresswoman Mace, can I ask you a question as you walk here? So the question is, with your piece of legislation about banning women from using...
100% yes.
My question to you is...
And it doesn't go far enough. I'll be filing more bills.
You have said that it was created in response to Congresswoman-elect McBride.
100%. And
but should legislation be created targeted at one specific person?
It doesn't mention anyone in the legislation, but
you've said it was aimed at her.
No, I have said it's a result of this. I'm not going to allow biological men into women's private spaces. I will stand in the brink and stand in the way of anyone on the radical left who thinks that it's okay for a penis to be in a women's locker room or a bathroom or a changing room. Hell no. I am not going to stand for it. And the speaker said it would be in the House rules package. If it's not, I'll be ready with a motion, a privileged motion to force a vote on this. This is not okay. I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. And I'm not going to allow any man in any female private spaces.
Now, Speaker,
ding, 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 ding.
Hi, I'm Steve Daines. My pronouns are Republican majority. I have a simple message for Chuck Schumer and for Bob Casey. It's over.
Well, it looks like Dave McCormick has won the U.S. Senate race over Bob Casey in Pennsylvania. We thought, but now there's another recount this morning. It just never ends.
I got to tell you on that, though,
yes.
I kind of liked the fact that the Democrats were honest in the sense of like, no, we're just going to ignore you. We're going to break the law. We're going to count illegal votes. I was finally like,
honest.
it feels good when they're honest about what they're actually doing instead of running around going, we're defenders of democracy. No, you're not. You win at all costs type of people.
Yes.
And that's how you've always been. And now you're actually telling the people how you feel.
Yeah, it's who you are. I love. Great point. Los Angeles, one step closer to become a sanctuary city for immigrants. The LA City Council passed an ordinance Tuesday that formally establishes a policy preventing the city from helping federal immigration officials with roundups or other actions aimed at illegal immigrants. The city's action comes as the incoming Trump administration promises widespread roundups, of course. Deion Sanders says he's not planning to leave anytime soon. The Colorado head football coach dismissed rumors about him potentially leaving the program for another job, including the NFL. Get ready. Hold your breath. You never know. It is not even Thanksgiving, so a lot of things could happen there. Sorry, Buffs fans. Never know. He may stay. Who knows? 18 in Lone Tree, 19 in Arvada, 21 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on Hump Day. Blake Olson, News Talk, 710 KNUS.
Colorado will find itself wedged between two big storms, one to our east, one to our west. We're going to be in the high pressure in between. So nice weather through Saturday. Cool today, warming to the upper 40s and near 50, upper 20s and low 30s tonight. We're going to be in the upper 50s and lower 60s and dry for Thursday, for Friday, for Saturday. Increasingly cloudy Sunday, late Sunday and the Monday, our next chance is snow. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to get to Ukraine in just a little bit. Billy, what do you think about the prosecutors requesting a stay in the Trump New York case until 2029 as defense plans motions for dismissal once and for all? This has to do with the Alvin Bragg case about the writing on the checks and filling out the ledger and whether or not that was all illegal, and now all of a sudden went from a misdemeanor to a felony, and they're now going to just put the president in jail after he's done with his office.
The stay makes sense. The stay makes sense because there are all sorts of entanglements as far as now that he being the president-elect and then soon the seated president. The same reason that the Jack Smith things are going to go away is because with Trump's Department of control of the Department of Justice, he has purview over dismissing those, but also there's directive from the Office of Legal Counsel and Department of Justice that a sitting president can't be indicted for crimes. Plus, we also have the get out of jail free card from the Supremes recently. For anything that he does, he can do all the crimey stuff he wants, and it doesn't matter. So all of that stuff.
True.
Oh yeah, totally is.
No, it is not.
Yes,
it is.
Totally
No,
is.
the restrictions on that were things that were done in official capacities.
Yeah.
And then you have to, if you're going to bring charges, you have to delineate between what happened under official capacities and what was just walking down the middle of a street shooting people.
Yeah, but even then, you can say that well, if this is to preserve the country, and I'm doing this in my official capacity, that's why they shoot him in the face. So again, there's a lot of, and I don't want to get into that right now.
And
but
you
there's
can
a lot
charge
of openness.
him.
There's a lot of, but he was doing it in his official capacity, so he can't.
It's not a get out of free card.
Oh yeah, it is.
No, it is
Yeah,
not.
But again,
you can actually charge him on it.
No, and no, you can't. But the issue that I've got on this one is it was the weakest case, and it makes sense to pause it. And it makes sense to make a stay because you're not going to get him into court. There's everything with him doing his job as president is going to prevent any of this going forward. And you're not going to be able to jail a current sitting president even then. And it's going to be very difficult to then fine a sitting president as well. So the mechanism doesn't really exist because of Trump being back in the White House. So it makes sense. But again, the Alvin Bragg case for me out of all of them was absolutely the weakest. That's the weakest sauce. And that was,
yet that was the one that made him the convict.
Yeah, but again, that's the one that is, and this is the one that to me disproves the entire idea of the Biden weaponization of the Department of Justice. Because if you were going to put a plan, if you're going to put on the whiteboard, here are all the cases we're going to nail him with, the one you don't lead with is that one. You never lead with that one. That would have been a cleanup at the end. So for me, that just on prima facie evidence disproves this idea of the Biden Department of Justice organizing in order to go after him. So it wasn't. But, because you don't lead with this one, it's a weak one. And I disagree with it going from misdemeanor into a felony. I don't think it rose to the level of felonies. But did he do it? Yeah, sure he did it. Do a lot of other businesses do it? Yeah. Do all businesses that do it get charged for it? No. Is that fair? No. But is our justice system fair? No. Is our justice system equitable? No. So, surprise.
Really glad to hear you say our justice system isn't fair.
No, it's not. It's not. We do not go and charge everybody who commits the same crime, nor do we charge them with the same punishments. Mm-hmm. So no, that's not it at all. That's not what we're looking at. But that's what we've decided, and that's okay. And I think that is reasonable because I do think there are instances in which people need to be charged with crimes for certain things and don't for others. That's fine.
So in this case, I'm guessing this will eventually be dismissed. Because is the state of New York really going to put Donald Trump in jail once he's done with his presidency at like 84?
See, for me, I don't think it's a jailable offense. For me, it's a check. And that's, again, why I disagree with him going into felonies.
That's essentially what Hillary Clinton did.
Yeah, it's a check. They just need to write a check. That's basically, this is a fraud based on bookkeeping. And it should be a check. But remember that the fraud that exists in the Trump organization sent his CFO to prison. So there are some crime things that happened inside a Trump organization that have been adjudicated inside of a court of law, and his CFO was sent to prison. So there are things that have gone on inside a Trump organization that are not
still
legal.
In prison?
I know he was sent back because he got tagged for perjury for lying. So he went back because he violated conditions of his parole because he got tagged for perjury.
So was that within the Trump organization, or was that him just?
That's Trump org stuff.
Was his not being honest with the prosecutors? Because sometimes the cover-up's worse than the crime.
Yeah,
itself.
Same thing. It was he wasn't being honest with the prosecutors. That he knew stuff that he wasn't honest with the prosecutors about. That he knew about the dirty things that he was doing and double billing and creating compensation that was outside the lines of what was legal and ethical at the times. Yeah, absolutely. But is it something Donald Trump needs to go to prison for? No. He needs to write a check. That's it. That's all that is. This to me is a misdemeanor that is business fraud that exists on thousands upon thousands of businesses. I'm certain, especially in New York. Absolutely, absolutely. But I do think that Alvin Bragg made a huge mistake by making it into and trying to make it into a felony.
And
but he did that because
having to watch Donald Trump sit there through this whole thing in the courtroom and all that. It fed. I mean, this was. From my perspective, this was one of the biggest blowbacks in the run-up to the 2024 election. I think a lot of people saw that and were just like, they're going after him because they're political enemies.
Yeah. And here's the reason why that I believe that it disproves the idea that the Biden Department of Justice was going after him is because they went with the weakest case, because it's the one that is going to create that perception. And if they wanted to, you would have led with the Jack Smith and the secret documents. That's the one you lead with.
I'm not sure I agree with that. But in a second, we're going to talk with Jack Crumley. The war in Ukraine has now been underway for more than 1,000 days. National correspondent Jack Crumley is going to help us take a look at what has turned into a bloody stalemate. What is ahead this winter and how the election of Donald Trump could affect the outcome. Jack, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. 1,000 days with Ukraine. My goodness. Where are we going from here?
Yeah, that's a good question. 1,000 days, 1,001 days as of today. Where we've been, the UN Human Rights Office recently talking about the casualties from this ongoing war. 12,000 civilians killed, nearly 27,000 injured, and more than 2,400 child casualties. Where we go from here, things may be changing in about 2 months when Donald Trump is sworn into office. Where we're at right now, over the weekend, the White House gave Ukraine the green light to start using these long-range American American missiles called ATACMS that go just short of 190 miles, which is longer than what Ukraine's been able to fire in the past. Ukraine also getting permission to use landmines that are being supplied to them. And also in response, just over the last day now, Russia saying that it has updated its nuclear doctrine, the rules that it has for itself as far as when it says it's allowed to use a nuclear weapon, updating that doctrine now to say if it is attacked by a conventionally armed country, such as Ukraine, that is supported by a nuclear power, such as the U.S., although a lot of folks would say that, Russia's not being attacked by Ukraine. Ukraine is defending itself against an ongoing Russian invasion.
Wow, talking to Jack Crumley, NBC national correspondent. So does it look like at this point Russia's trying to get as much land as they possibly can in the idea that this may end up becoming a negotiated stalemate, similar to the way kind of it was between the settlements with Israel and Gaza, that wherever we are on that day, whatever land is achieved, those belong into the hands of the person that has it?
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's a definite possibility. Trying to get as much land as possible, I think, has always been Russia's goal in this since the attack was launched 1,000 days ago. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has been on the record of saying that he's not interested in negotiating a peace that involves Russia holding on to those eastern provinces in Ukraine that it has taken so far. We'll see the way things play out. Once Donald Trump is in office, something that we said a lot during the first Trump administration, something that was said a lot was we'll see what happens, and certainly another instance of that here.
Jack Crumley, NBC radio national correspondent, joining Jeff and Bill live. The question I have for you, and this is a bit outside the news realm, and you can defer if you want. How, given Trump's predilection for wanting to find a resolution to this war, is there a possibility, or how do we get to a resolution that doesn't look like Vladimir Putin comes out on top? Is that a possibility in your idea, in your thoughts?
It's a good question, and how much of that would Russia be on board for? I think at this point, anything, because this has turned into such a stalemate, and Russia's been having issues with some supply lines and troop levels. That's why North Korean troops are now apparently helping the Russians in this ongoing aggression. How much people are willing to settle for, we'll see. The way things are played out right now, those eastern provinces that Russia has sort of granted them a land bridge into Crimea, which we know that they seized a few years ago. So, seeing what people are willing to settle for. And, again, Russia, the Ukrainian president saying he's not interested in agreeing to a peace deal that involves Russia holding on to that land. Vladimir Zelensky speaking to the EU just yesterday, encouraging them to push Russia harder, saying that the more time Putin has, the worse the conditions become.
NBC national radio correspondent Jack Crumley joining us. Let's talk a little bit about Russia changing their threshold for nuclear weapons. In your opinion, is Putin being serious, or is this a lot about show? Would this be much like the U.S. saying we are lowering our threshold for when we respond with nuclear weapons to attacks from a guy with the name Putin? I mean, it seems like he's couching it and he's creating it to create a news story as a potential deterrent for the U.S. But I'm not really convinced he means it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and I think that's the take that the White House has had. The immediate reaction from the White House has been that this is just more irresponsible rhetoric coming out of Moscow. The threat of the use of nuclear weapons in this conflict is something that Russia has trotted out there almost since the beginning. Russia's going to do what Russia wants to do with Vladimir Putin at the helm. It seems like the idea that thinking that you're justified in using a nuclear weapon, if there is ever such a justification. But in this instance of, Ukraine, a smaller country with less resources, just trying to defend itself from its land being taken, seems like, trying to swat a spider with a Tommy gun.
Yeah, there years ago, I was driving through the Colorado mountains and I saw a motel that had burned down. And at the big marquee sign that they had outside, they put up in big black letters, saw a spider, it's okay, he's dead now. So I'm like, that's kind of what I think with the idea of the nuclear weapon is you're kind of like, whoop, spider. And so what I want to know is, does that potential threat, or as you and I both think, a paper tiger threat from Russia about nuclear weapons, does it provide, and maybe this is the play, does it provide an out card for members of Congress that are that don't necessarily support what we're doing in Ukraine? Does it allow them to say, ooh, because of this nuclear threat, we obviously need to sit down at the table and broker a deal with Mr. Putin?
Yeah, well, and then, a lot of those folks on the legislative side who are against this funding this war have already, been interested in just trying to cut it off altogether. I don't know that there's anybody who's sitting on the fence who needs another reason to be like, well, you know what, you're right, we should really try to end this. And, ultimately, it's going to be up to Ukraine just as much as the U.S. Ukraine's not going to be able to defend itself as well if the U.S. completely cuts off all of the support that it's seen, but it is still getting support from the EU. Again, I think a lot, the stage has been set for a lot of things to change potentially in 60 days when Donald Trump is sworn into office.
Talking to Jack Crumley, NBC national correspondent. We really appreciate you giving us some insight on this. 1,001 days since the start of the war in Ukraine and Russia. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, thanks. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So what do you think? Where is this going to go? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Can Donald Trump deliver the peace negotiations?
Remember his time frame.
Long time. Day one, 24 hours.
24 hours. So here, the question I've got for you, Jeff, is if Donald Trump is in office for 24 hours and doesn't solve it, is he breaking a promise? Now, for me, I will even give him grace because I think the 24-hour time limit is rather stupid. But he thinks it's so easy. I'd give him a week. Beyond that, I'm like, you were just blowing smoke at us. You were just making stuff up. You were creating things out of whole cloth. So in your mind, what would be a reasonable timeline for him to settle this? Because again, as you accurately pointed out, his original timeline was it's, quote, easy. It can be settled in 24 hours.
I'm not worried about that nearly as much as I'm worried about ending up in World War III because Joe Biden can't figure this dang thing out. So this bizarre escalation, this bizarre.
You're just going to avoid the question.
No, I'm not avoiding the question. It's like literally, it's like, okay, I'm going to hold Donald Trump to 24 hours in a statement he made, or nuclear war, World War III, because Joe Biden and the people we have currently running this are total buffoons, can't figure it out.
Help me understand how we're getting to
Let's
World
go
War III.
talk about what Donald Trump said in his statement when we're like literally, I feel like driving through World War III. But
here's the thing is, I want you to help me understand why we're getting to World War III, what you see as far as that predilection. But again, if we are going towards World War III, doesn't Donald Trump's promise to settle in 24 hours even more germane? If we are marching towards World War III, then I believe it is perfectly reasonable to discuss Donald Trump's solution. And he says it's easy and can be accomplished in 24 hours.
Yes.
You say Biden is marching us towards nuclear war. Then why can't we talk about how quickly Donald Trump can and should settle this?
I'm just telling you, I'm not that concerned about what Donald Trump said and whether or not it'll be 24 hours or 1 week or a little bit longer than that, as much as I am genuinely concerned that there's an escalation taking place right now between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States, and it's fueled by incompetency at the very top.
Yeah, and
that is what I'm more concerned about. But okay, a week,
and what I hear,
24 hours,
what I hear is that it doesn't matter with Donald Trump.
Okay.
What I hear is it doesn't matter what Donald Trump does. That I'm going to excuse him and all of it, but I'm going to put all the responsibility on Joe Biden, but I'm not going to give Donald Trump any of the responsibility.
On Wednesday, November 20th, that is what I'm far more concerned about.
So explain to me how Joe Biden is marching us into nuclear war. Please explain that to me.
Well, considering, I mean, I appreciate the fact that the United States isn't totally freaking out about Russia lowering its threshold for the use of nuclear weapons. But it doesn't seem like things are getting better. It seems like things are escalating. We're now shooting these, what are they called? ATACMS?
Yeah.
ATACMS into Russia.
We aren't doing that. America is not pushing a single button. What? They're their missiles. They launch them.
Yeah.
What?
Oh my gosh.
I don't understand why this is hard.
First
Why
of
is this
all,
difficult?
one, we're the ones who built them, shipped them, and gave them to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Secondly, we told Ukraine they can now fire them into Russia. And just because we weren't the ones at the end of the day that actually pressed the button, you think our hands are clean in this situation?
I didn't say that our hands are clean. That's not the same thing. You said we launched them. That is incorrect factually. That's incorrect. And I still don't see you getting us into how are we marching into nuclear war? Explain this to me, because what you did is what you've done is you've danced around the entire issue. You claimed that the incompetency here at the top.
You 2 exact examples.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Of how we're getting closer to nuclear war.
Maybe I missed them.
Okay. Number one, these ATACMS, right, that we built, shipped, and approved to be fired into Russia, and simply because we weren't the ones at the moment that pressed the button, we're somehow not responsible for that, or Russia doesn't see us as being responsible for it?
No,
you don't think we have any responsibility with that?
That's Ukraine's decision. We gave them missiles that can be used as defense, and they can be used as offensive capabilities, and they constrained themselves for a while, and then we said, okay, because, but again, Russia attacked them. I failed to see, but tell me how this gets us to nuclear war. Please help me there.
We're now firing, we're like inching closer.
We are not.
Disagree with that.
It's
I
not the royal
totally
we.
disagree. Do you think Russia makes that distinction? Do you think the people that are dealing with the blunts of these missiles coming in are going, well, yeah, sure, they shipped them and greenlit their use, but they weren't the ones that actually pressed the button.
They are the people that are getting hit by them are mad at Ukraine, and that's part of the issue. But you know that Putin is using this. Putin is using this because he's trying to create this false impression. This is some sort of a proxy war, and unfortunately, we have people inside of the conservative media echo chamber that are buying into it. That are buying into his BS propaganda. It is not true, and Putin is obviously going to frame this way.
War?
No, it's not a proxy war. He invaded Ukraine. It's not a proxy war. We are defending an ally. We're helping an ally defend themselves. Not a proxy war.
Are they?
We
allies?
are not.
Are they allies? They're not NATO allies.
They are our allies.
Do you have an agreement with them to be allies?
Yes. Ukraine's our ally.
But they're not NATO.
No, they're not NATO. But I don't care about that. I literally don't care about that. They're our ally. Oh yeah. Here's the idea. If you're my friend, someone walks up on the playground, punches you in the face, it's on, baby. We are gonna dance. I got no problem whether or not about that.
I totally disagree with that.
Personally, that's how I work. That's how I work, man.
I appreciate it, but then it's another level of sending your sons and other people's sons to have to deal with this, which is the trajectory I'm afraid we're on under Joe Biden. And to finish the question, how we're not inching towards possible nuclear war, we're sending these ATACMS. Russia is now responding by lowering the threshold for their response. It is getting hotter and hotter and hotter between Ukraine and Russia. And I put a lot of blame on the total incompetency of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on all of this. Can't wait to get Donald Trump into office, and whether or not it's 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, I believe the temperature is going to decrease and we're going to move closer towards peace. Yeah, go ahead.
For you. If you're saying that we are launching missiles into Russia and we are responsible for that, are we also responsible for what Israel is doing in Palestine?
Yeah.
We are responsible?
Yes.
Okay. So the Palestinian citizens that are passing away because of the attacks based on the Israelis, we are also responsible for those people's deaths.
Bill, I think that the people experiencing the death, the pain, the suffering, like all the Palestinians, because I spent 4 days with them, do not think that the United States is somehow totally innocent in this conflict.
No, I don't care about what they're saying.
They think the United States is responsible.
No, I'm asking about you.
They think that the United States is responsible.
I know, but you use the royal we for us attacking Russia. Do you also use the royal we with Israel?
Sure.
So you say that we are also responsible for anything that happens inside of Palestine, and that
if they're using our weapons, yes.
Okay.
Why wouldn't we? Why would we wash our hands of that and go, well, we sent the weapons over, and now it's all your responsibility? And so we don't take any responsibility for what you do after you use the weapons we built and shipped to you.
Okay, so any country that uses our weaponry, we are now responsible for the actions they take.
In part, yeah, why not?
Okay, that's an odd one, but okay. That's really
Don't
weird.
you think?
No.
Should
no.
Okay, so
and here's the reason
you're
why.
not going to even hold the gun manufacturers responsible for any gun activity in America.
No. Now, if they're advertising for it, if they're marketing it certain ways, yes. If the U.S. is marketing it as, hey, look, here's what you're going to need to do, then we can talk about it that way. But here's the thing: is you would hold the gun manufacturers responsible.
No, I wouldn't, because I think there's an important distinction.
No. Okay, what's the distinction?
When the United States gives or sells arms, but do you think they're selling them? I think in a lot of cases, do you really, or you think we're selling arms to Ukraine?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, hang on a sec. The issue with Ukraine is support, and we're giving them older
we're giving
stuff.
them the stuff.
And then what we're doing is we're using the money and we're valuing it, and then we're rebuying the stuff and replacing it here. But yeah, I don't care. But does it matter?
Yeah, it does.
Why? Okay, explain to me the difference you're making between the gun manufacturers and the U.S. How come we are responsible for the actions the U.S. military takes, but the gun manufacturers are not responsible?
Because one, the weapons are totally different. Okay,
that's irrelevant.
No, it's not.
Yes,
it's totally irrelevant.
No, it isn't.
One is a massive bomb that can kill 50 people with one hit versus a gun. Yes. So one, the nature of the weapon is totally different. Two, the nature of the operator is totally different. So you have an individual in the United States that has a Second Amendment right to purchase a gun, right? Whatever weapon system we're selling to another country, there's no constitutional right that's based upon. And then secondly, we're selling much bigger weapons.
So what?
And then we're just going to wipe our hands clean of this and go, well, whatever you do in your little genocide between the two countries isn't our problem.
Here's the thing. The people that were at the concert in Las Vegas, the people that were in the movie theater here in Aurora, disagree with you about the efficacy of the little guns. They disagree with you about the weapons and the damage they can do.
Bombs and helicopters and airplanes? You don't see any distinction between those?
Hang on a sec. Here's the idea. You're playing with the idea of how many people we can kill. That's your excuse for this.
No, I'm not. I'm saying
you are.
that the nature of the weapon is totally different.
That's exactly what I just said. You just reinforced my exact premise. And what I'm challenging you on is the line of responsibility. If you're saying that because the U.S. sells weapons, the line of responsibility, the chain of responsibility will feed back to the U.S. regardless of how those weapons are used, then it is fair intellectually to say the gun manufacturers are also responsible for the weapons they sell and how they are used and be traced back to them. If these weapons are used for hunting and for self-defense, that's great. But if they're used for harm, then just like if the weapons are used from the U.S. used for self-defense, that's good. But if they're used for harm, you're going to blame us. You're going to blame people in both. That's intellectually consistent, and you're not being consistent.
You're not being intellectually consistent because the situations are marketably different. They're not the same.
No, they're not.
So you're looking at one similarity, basically, which is the trading of weapons for money, and then going, because that took place, all the scenarios and responsibilities are exactly the same. And that's not true.
But that's
the nature of the weapon is different. The nature of the purchaser is different. There's no constitutional right there. And you're actually selling nations weapons, not an individual person a weapon. And therefore the nation is going to, it has its own desires.
You'd be okay if the bill of sale for the missiles in Ukraine said Vladimir Zelensky on it rather than Ukraine. Then it's okay.
I don't get that. What?
Yeah, exactly. That thing, because of personal purchase. You were just arguing personal purchase. If Vladimir Zelensky buys the missiles, then it's personal purchase.
No, I'm just pointing that there's a difference between yours.
That's your difference. I just came to your difference, your market difference of an individual purchase, and then it's okay. If we sold them to some sort of a gun manufacturer, if we sold them to
buys
rebels,
a Glock,
it's okay.
If Vladimir Putin let's go through the scenario, and we're totally out of time here. But Vladimir Putin buys a Glock and goes and shoots somebody on the street in Ukraine. I do not blame Glock for that.
But you will blame the U.S. for missiles.
If the United States sells these ATACMS missiles to Russia, knowing they're going to be fired upon the Russian people, yes, then the United States holds some responsibility for that. They're totally different situations.
And who are the Israelis going to shoot?
The terrorists.
and also Palestinians.
Well, not innocent ones. They try not to. They're not aiming at innocent ones.
But they did, so they're responsible as well. And the U.S. would then be responsible. Okay, fair enough. Just like the gun manufacturers in your scenario.
No, they're not. All right.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's get to the phone lines and the text messages. You're welcome to join in on this one. 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Are we spiraling towards nuclear war between Ukraine, Russia, and is the United States going to be pulled into this? And is the United States responsible? These, how do you pronounce it? Attackums?
Yeah, just say attackums. That's the
attackums.
Easiest.
Yeah, that's right.
Attackums. That's the easiest one. Yeah. Because everything has to have a cool acronym name. What the hell is that about government anyway? We don't have to have a cool acronym for everything, idiots. Oh, well.
Well, and the text messages are all long, as you can imagine.
It's fantastic. I love y'all. Even the ones that hate me. It's fantastic.
Weapons the United States sells to other countries are for killing people. The individual purchase here in America is for defending oneself. There's a big difference in the use.
I disagree because as a consumer product, a gun is designed and built to kill as efficiently and quickly as possible. It's just a matter of where you're pointing it. So I disagree with the premise that we're all buying it for defense, because I have a whole lot of hunters in my family and friends that are not buying it for defense at all. They're out there killing things with it and they're eating stuff. And that's fantastic. But again,
the other thing is, just because the weapon itself can be used for the murder of somebody doesn't mean that the gun manufacturers know that's the intent of the purchaser. Whereas a country buying U.S. weapons, the U.S. knows exactly what they're going to be used for.
Not necessarily.
But when doesn't take place?
You're assuming offensive capabilities. They also can be used as defensive capabilities all the time. That's why you have a large standing army, because it is a deterrent. One of the reasons that Russia invaded Ukraine is a lack of a strong standing army and things like missile defense. That was part of the problem. So if one weapon can be used defensively and offensively, all weapons can be used defensively and offensively, including nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons right now have more or less lost their offensive capability. That's why I disagree with the premise that Vladimir Putin is taking us towards nuclear war. I don't think Biden is at all, because nuclear weapons are not necessarily offensive, they're defensive, because that's why Iran wants the bomb, is they want to prevent anybody walking in and saying, if you walk in, we have the nukes. They are used as a defensive weapon in modern warfare right now. So weapons can be used either way.
Going back to the idea of intent, why then don't we sell nuclear weapons to Cuba?
Probably because they're not our ally at this point. So
because we know what the intent would be. We know what they would use it for.
But it's also our ally. We're not selling to our allies. They're our enemy. So I disagree with the idea. We don't sell weapons ever to our enemies. So
because we know what they're going to do with them.
Yeah, but that doesn't discount my point about the weapons or what's going on in Ukraine, because Ukraine's not our enemy. And we didn't sell anything as far as weapons to Russia so far. So again, it doesn't work. Your analogy there doesn't work.
No, I think it works perfectly.
No, it doesn't.
What it does, because
is Ukraine our ally?
The analogy that I'm pointing out is that this isn't just like a gun manufacturer putting lots of guns into the market and allowing the individual purchase of these. The United States, when it sells weapons, knows who they're selling it to, what they're going to be used for, and therefore the United States has more responsibility in the end result of what those weapons are used for than the general gun seller does.
The U.S. does not know exactly how those weapons are going to be used. That is not part of the deal. That's not part of the.
Why wouldn't it
sale. It's not part of the sale.
Why, dude? If we're selling helicopters and jets and
to everybody, yes.
We know generally what they're going to be used for. If we don't, that's a massive gap in our foreign policy, don't you think?
No, I disagree. No, and I don't think that's the premise. And again, going back to the idea of the gun manufacturer is creating a product that is designed to kill as efficiently as possible. And if you're not creating a gun that doesn't kill efficiently as possible, then you're making a bad gun. And you're going to fail inside the marketplace. What the end user chooses to do with that gun is on them. Just like we sell weapons, and our military-industrial complex is happy to sell weapons to just about anybody that's an ally. What they do with them on the end result is not necessarily a reflection on us. That's their choice. We took the money. We made the cash. We took the capitalism inside of it. That's why I don't understand the capitalism issue.
Bill, that's where I think there's like this, the idea that Russia is purely looking at the Ukraine war going, well, it's just us versus Ukraine, not the United States being involved in this, supplying the weapons, green lighting their use. That's just crazy that you think that they don't look at the situation and go, the United States is in part responsible for this.
Why do you think that Putin felt that they were going to get this done in less than 3 weeks? not because the U.S. was involved. They didn't think the U.S. was going to step up at all. So he invaded, assuming that there was going to be no support for Ukraine. But we did support our allies, and that's a good thing. This is the weird part about this, is that you look at the idea of us supporting our ally after they were invaded by an enemy as a bad thing. I mean, we are through the looking glass.
No.
That the party of Reagan doesn't want to defend our allies
I'm not
when
saying
Russia
that.
invades.
I'm saying
This
that
is
Russia
fantastic.
sees the United States involved in this, and you somehow think that there's just this clear distinction, like, oh, we sell weapons to everybody. So, the United States or Russia isn't somehow frustrated with the United States and all this. All right, we're way past another break. We'll get to the phone lines. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. We're discussing, who knows where we are in this conversation. What's going to happen with Ukraine and Russia? Who's responsible?
That's
all
why I
this
love
stuff.
you. We're friends. That's fantastic. Who knows what the hell we're talking about?
Who knows where we are on
You're
this
the
one?
best, my friend. You're the best.
All right, Josh, Colorado Springs, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Amen.
Morning, gentlemen. Bill, you're obviously intelligent. I enjoy the mental chess that I play with myself while listening to you. Frustrated many times. But the one thing that I would like to point out is gun manufacturers have never said, buy this gun and use it against somebody openly. Biden, on the other hand, has openly said, we are supporting Ukraine with these weapons against Russia.
I disagree.
And that's my only point.
I disagree with you on that one, Josh, because I can go back through marketing over the last 15 years and how certain weapons were marketed. And it was about protect yourself from the bad guys that are coming to get you. I forgot who the manufacturer is, but they have a very famous ad that worked really, really well for them, where it basically is a guy in somewhat of a flak jacket, hat on backwards, and he's standing there with the gun, and there are the rioters standing in front of him. And it's the idea that this is what's going to keep you and your family safe. They're absolutely advocating that is what's going to happen. Yeah, absolutely they are. They're not saying, hey, go out there and go and shoot this person. Nor did Biden say when he gave the missiles to him, hey, go and shoot these at Russia. So it's kind of
Bill,
the same thing.
He literally just said that, didn't he, though?
He just said that you can't shoot
gave
them
him permission to shoot into Russia.
Yeah.
The missiles.
Yes. And the marketing gives permission to shoot at someone that you're afraid of. Yes.
But
same thing.
But in the Ukraine Russia case, I'm pretty sure that the U.S. military is involved in nearly, or is at least aware, green lighting possibly every single military incursion by Ukraine.
Well, there's operators over there training. I mean,
training, but we don't know anything about them being involved in the command and control and the decision-making process. We know they're providing some support and logistics, but nothing as far as the actual
Ukraine
execution.
says we're going to fire these ATACMS at this place, don't you think the United States probably knows that's going to happen?
Possibly, yeah. But even then, that's the choice they're allowed to make.
My bigger point on all this, though, is do you think Russia just somehow doesn't believe the United States is involved in all this?
No, Russia wants to make it look like the U.S. is more involved than it actually is because it helps them as far as their marketing into a larger war and their messaging around the world. They absolutely want to create that issue. They want to create that image because it helps them. This is all a PR campaign. That's why they changed the rules on the nukes. It's a PR campaign. That's all they're doing.
I mean, I just disagree. I think I see all of this U.S. intervention to all these wars, and people blame the United States, and rightfully so for some of it. All right, we'll continue the conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Wednesday, November 20th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history, and we're off and running, gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson. We'll continue as phone lines are coming in. The debate over Ukraine, Russia, United States. Is the United States responsible? Is Joe Biden driving us towards nuclear war? Are things getting scarier there? Is Donald Trump going to fix it? Give us a call. Phone number 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Also want to get into this guy, Matthew Gaetz. Bill's just laughing.
Oh, yeah.
You ready for him to be your new attorney general?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's just a nightmare. It's yeah, but again, if this is the direction we're going, okay, fine. That's
buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah, I know. We don't, experience, ability, competency. No longer needed in those jobs. No,
it hasn't been there under Biden for a long time. The way this is playing out for me is we're just going right back into all the Brett Kavanaugh stuff again. Unsubstantiated allegations, no criminal charges, hearsay, innuendo, and if this goes before the Senate, or is this all going to be brought up? Are these girls going to be testifying like Blasey Ford was testifying under Kavanaugh? And have the Democrats really blown their trust on these issues? I think Brett Kavanaugh was totally innocent of that. All of that was made up, and then they went into bizarre realms. Totally overblew the situation. And are we going to see similar stuff with Matt Gaetz, or is Matt Gaetz really a problem for Donald Trump? He needs to find somebody else. Join the conversation on that as well. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Bill. 24 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 50 today. It's going to be a nice day. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine is closing following a warning of a possible significant air attack by Russian forces. I wonder why that's happening. The warning comes one day after Ukraine used American missiles to strike inside Russia, approved by Biden, the deep state, or whoever's running the White House right now. Who knows? Could be any globalist. Jack Crumley, NBC radio correspondent, on with Jeff and Billy last hour.
The immediate reaction from the White House has been that this is just more irresponsible rhetoric coming out of Moscow. the threat of the use of nuclear weapons in this conflict is something that Russia has trotted out there almost since the beginning. Russia's going to do what Russia wants to do with Vladimir Putin at the helm. It seems like the idea that thinking that you're justified in using a nuclear weapon, if there is ever such a justification. But in this instance of, Ukraine, a smaller country with less resources, just trying to defend itself from its land being taken, seems like, trying to swat a spider with a tom.
So how about let's stop provoking them? Jeffrey Sachs.
So
Shh, it's a secret. Jeffrey says,
this is America fighting, shooting missiles into deep Russian territory. Right. Americans doing this. This is the point people need to understand. And the Russians said, if you do this, we are at war with you. Well, thank you, Mr. Biden. You do not have the constitutional authority for that. You may not have the...
My computer just blew up. Okay.
I mean, that's another whole point, Blake, is the constitutional authority to do this. I mean, the idea that we're shooting, and I know Bill goes, we're not shooting. I just totally disagree with that. We are part of this.
Absolutely.
Russia's going to see it that way, and they're going to escalate as a result of it. And I've got to deal with 2 more months of Joe Biden as president. He wanders into jungles. He has no idea where he is right now.
That was hilarious. Okay.
No.
Side note. Did everyone in the conversation here see that when Joe Biden did the climate thing and then wandered off into the jungle? Everyone check that? That was hilarious. Okay, they've got this thing and he's talking about climate change and things like this. And he gets up from this makeshift table and they're in the jungle and he casually wanders into the jungle. and I'll say it was hilarious.
Could he get lost, maybe?
Here was the thing is, my thought was, the first thing popped into my mind is all the staff going, shh, back away slowly. Maybe he won't hear us. And he just let him go. And then they come back and go, I don't know what happened to him. We lost him. He wandered off, and I'm sorry. It's like coming back from the field trip and you're down one kid. You're like, I don't know what happened. Should have been wearing the vest. I don't know.
That would be a shame, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Doctor, thank you for all that. I appreciate that. Dr. Oz is being chosen by DJT to head the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. CMS oversees Medicare, Medicaid, the Children's Health Insurance Program, and healthcare.gov, which currently provide coverage to nearly 50% of Americans. Trump says Oz has been at the forefront of healthy living for decades and will work alongside RFK Jr. The Onion is being hit with a lawsuit by InfoWars host Alex Jones. Attorneys for Jones filed a lawsuit on Monday claiming the satirical website submitted an illegitimate bid for the assets of Jones's parent company last week. The Onion said it was buying InfoWars with the support of the Sandy Hook families and was planning to relaunch the conservative website as another satirical website. But that's not happening. Alex Jones is alive and well and producing the content right now as we speak. After school on Monday, a Douglas County school bus driver dropped 40 elementary school children off in an area different from their bus stop, and parents are demanding answers from the school and district staff. Douglas County School District says that they're in contact with the families, and it's incredibly concerning as the student safety is their priority. The bus driver is currently on leave. The man who was reportedly armed is dead after being shot by a Littleton police officer on Tuesday morning. Littleton PD said an officer attempted to make a traffic stop at Bellevue and Keeneland Court when the suspect left the vehicle and pointed a weapon at officers. He allegedly fired several rounds at the officer, who returned fire. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition and died of his injuries. The officer is not injured and is currently on administrative leave while it's being investigated. Charlemagne the Dud called DJT a fascist before the election. Now reality sets in.
And they said the reason they're trying to go so fast with this is because they want to get this done before Trump gets in office. So
yes, because Trump is it is projected that he will just kill the entire thing. This is true.
And guess what? That's a good thing.
Yes.
Listen, here's the thing. That's why I keep telling folks, whether you voted for the person or not, when the person does something that you agree with, I'm all for it. I don't want these congestion prices in New York.
No, it's going to raise the prices for too many people.
It's already expensive.
That's right.
Hey, do your thing, Trump. Do your thing.
And do your thing.
Trump. Do your thing.
That's right. Do your thing. And Charlemagne, maybe you should vote for him next time.
Yeah.
And instead of calling him a fascist, but they'll learn over time. Charlemagne the dud. Hey, Deion Sanders says he's not planning to leave anytime soon at the University of Colorado as the head coach of the CU Buffs. Incredible season. They take on Kansas this Saturday. They are 8-2. He says he's not leaving, but it's still early. Don't hold your breath. 21 in Larkspur. By the way, that's Deion's old number, 21. 22 in North Glen and 24 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Colorado will find itself wedged between two big storms, one to our east, one to our west. We're going to be in the high pressure in between. So nice weather through Saturday. Cool today, warming to the upper 40s and near 50, upper 20s and low 30s tonight. We're going to be in the upper 50s and lower 60s and dry for Thursday, for Friday, for Saturday. Increasingly cloudy Sunday, late Sunday into Monday, our next chance is snow. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Jacqueline, Sydney, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, good morning, Jacqueline.
Well, it's been a while. Listen, let me run this by you. Do you think the United States holds any responsibility when it comes to how they left Iraq, how they bugged out of there and left all that weaponry? And it ended up in the hands of Hamas. That weaponry was used against poor, innocent Jews. Now, is America, or is it just Biden or whoever's running Biden? Do you think we hold any responsibility for what happened?
I do 100%. In fact, there was another text message on here that I thought was really good. Something like 42% of all arms sales in the world come from America. And what I'm trying to point out is that, do you think the people that are facing the consequences of these arms being used against them don't somehow blame the United States for this?
Well, they'd have to in a way. You couldn't help it because those are our weaponry. And the way that was done was just horrendous. It was done, I believe, on purpose. And I still haven't gotten over the fact they left all those war dogs, which ended up on people's dinner plates. That still annoys me. But we do hold a responsibility about who gets their hands on our weapons. We do.
Yeah.
Now, I got a question on that one.
ahead.
Just out of curiosity, and for both Jeff and Jacqueline, and even for our audience and our listeners, then, do you feel that if a kid takes their parents' weapons and goes and commits a mass shooting, should the parents also be held responsible?
Parents,
yes, Billy. Yes, I've always said that.
Okay.
You are responsible for them as long as they live under your roof.
Okay.
And if they steal from you and take a weapon from you, you're responsible for keeping that weapon safe.
Okay. Now, I have another question for you. Let's say that it's a gun dealer, and the gun dealer messes up the background check and sells a gun to someone that is a felon, has a violent history, and the felon goes on and commits a crime. Is the gun dealer, and let's just say the gun dealer either makes a mistake or knowingly obfuscates and doesn't care about the background check, is the gun dealer then responsible for that weapon and how it was used?
Yes, he is in a way.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
That is incompetent. That's an incompetent way of selling a gun. And we all know now what the law is. Okay. But I want to say one thing here at the end here. Yeah. I want to tell you, the end up with Matt Gaetz, I'm okay with that.
Now, here's the other question I have then. If we're going to hold the gun dealer responsible, do you then hold the gun manufacturer responsible for the actions that are taken with their weapons?
No, you can't, because, there's a middle party there, a third party, a fourth party. You can't go back to that.
Okay.
It's just like anything else. You
That's
can't
fair.
do that. I mean,
Now,
you got to have
help
some common
help me
sense.
square the circle then. How we have the gun manufacturer, the person that makes the gun, is it responsible for what's done with the weapon? But the U.S., who made the weapons and left them there, how are they then responsible for what people do when they take those weapons? Help me understand why one is different than the other.
Well, the way that we left over there and left all that weaponry, there was no reason to do that, Billy. It was intentional. Why would you intentionally leave weapons in the hands when you know a group like Hamas can get their hands on it? You don't leave your gun laying around your home so your 16-year-old boy can get his hands on it either. There's a responsibility, and we owe a responsibility to our people over there to get them weapons out of there at a timely manner. Now, why do you think Biden bugged everybody out like they did? And was it planned? I honestly think it must have been.
Well, here's the thing.
It was to allow the bad guys to get their hands on it, on weapons.
Yeah, I don't ascribe those type of nefarious motives to the Biden administration. I look more as far as incompetence, but part of that also has to be laid on the table that was set under the Trump administration as well. Part of the problem under both administrations was how we closed down, in my opinion, closed down bases in Afghanistan, and we left a choke point as far as how to get people out. Also, the manner in which we got them out was bass-ackwards and wrong. But I do understand why leaving the weapons there and leaving especially the heavy artillery there, because sand gets into everything. And if we would have brought it home, we would have had to clean it out or refurbish everything or probably end up buying new ones anyway. And so what we did is we left it there. So we turn around and we buy new ones anyway. So that's basically what it is. We're just restocking the pantry type of a thing. So I don't think I would have left some of the small arms in there, but the large arms, I don't care. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Well, we left there in a disgraceful manner. I mean, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
But
but remember that was negotiated by Trump. That exit was negotiated. The manner in which it was done was negotiated by Trump. I'm not saying that Biden executed it properly, but there is a horse apiece on how that was done. There were mistakes made under both administrations, in my opinion.
You're right, but the one that made the biggest mistake was Joe Biden and who's ever behind him, because it didn't need to be done that way.
Nobody got fired or held accountable for it. Jacqueline, I really appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Jacqueline's line will be open 303-696-1971. I want to talk to you for a second about my good friend Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. I've known Dan for well over a decade. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He's the son of a police officer, a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life. 40? He doesn't even look that old. Is he like, he started practicing law when he was 5? 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But more than just being a great guy with strong values, he's a real winner in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed, and listen to this, to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases, and you might be saying to yourself, I can't afford him. That's not true. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. All right. Want to get to this story from the Wall Street Journal. Senators want details on the sexual misconduct allegation as Gaetz seeks a fair shake. Trump and attorney generals pick lobby lawmakers in an uphill battle for the confirmation. Republican senators said they wanted more details from a long-running ethics probe into Matt Gaetz over sexual misconduct and drug allegations, while President-elect Donald Trump's embattled pick to be attorney general is now lobbying lawmakers to back him for the post. Gaetz, who resigned as a House lawmaker last week ahead of the expected release of a House Ethics Committee report, has indicated he wants to proceed with the confirmation hearing and win the backing of a majority of the Senate. But some GOP senators have expressed concern about the pick publicly and privately, likely leaving him short of the votes, he needs to be confirmed. Democrats are set to oppose the nomination. The report is expected to be damaging to the 42-year-old Gaetz. One of the witnesses told the panel she saw Gaetz having sex with a 17-year-old girl at a party in 2017, and both she and another woman said Gaetz paid them for sex. Their lawyers said Monday. The Justice Department also investigated whether Gaetz engaged in sex trafficking of a minor, a probe that began during Trump's first term and ended last year without criminal charges. Gaetz has long denied ever having sex with a minor as an adult or paying for sex. So here's my question to the listeners, 710K in US. A lot of this strikes me similar to what we dealt with Brett Kavanaugh, which was an all-out offensive coming from the progressive left, not rooted in fact, in an effort to kill somebody's career. And if you remember with Brett Kavanaugh, it started with the kind of Christine Blasey Ford allegations of a night in high school, and then it just ran off into bizarro land with, that he was part of sex clubs and gang rapes and all this stuff. None of that was true. And Brett Kavanaugh had to go fight for his career, fight for his life, fight for his family during that testimony. Remember how contentious that all got? And none of it was true. And he ended up passing. He's done a fine job on the U.S. Supreme Court. Further allegations taking place. He's settled into his job. He's doing just fine from my perspective. I probably don't agree with everything that he's decided, but this, from my perspective, a 3-year investigation by a Department of Justice that already doesn't like Matt Gaetz, did not bring criminal charges. He is a private citizen. He has the ability to defend himself in a court of law. None of this was brought before him. These are all allegations, hearsay, innuendo, sensationalist charges. And it strikes me a lot as what we had to do with Brett Kavanaugh. What are your thoughts, Bill?
I don't think the Kavanaugh thing is necessarily analogous, because I thought the Kavanaugh issue was, in all points, mostly irrelevant because of the time frame. We're talking about college and high school in that era, and there are decades of other behavior to show whether or not Kavanaugh is that person. Gaetz's behavior is contemporary. Gaetz's behavior involves conversations, texts, pictures, videos that he has shown and bragged about with current sitting members of Congress, people that he served with. He has bragged about this behavior. He has openly shown people things that he's done this way. And I question whether or not that is the person that we need to have leading the Department of Justice. But more importantly, other than his alleged moral and ethical failings, he doesn't have any experience at all coming close to this. I mean, he doesn't have anything as far as the ability to run the AG's office. We sat down during when friend of the show, George Brockler, was running for Judicial District 23. During the primary, we had his opponent here in the studio, Dagny Vanderjack, and she wanted to become the DA in Judicial District 23. Absence any prosecutorial experience. When we asked her about the thing that she was most proud of in her law career, she talked about a defense case, and she's asking to be the prosecutor. Matt Gaetz has never prosecuted a dog walker. Matt Gaetz has never prosecuted a person that sped. Matt Gaetz has never prosecuted someone that bounced a check. He has no experience in any way, shape, or form in this realm. I'm not saying that Donald Trump can't choose people that he wants, but don't we think that maybe competency and ability should matter? And I don't see any of it in Gaetz. And that's my objection to him. I have severe ethical questions about him. But more importantly, he's not up for the job. He doesn't have anything that says he has the ability to do this job.
So historically, the attorney general the president has chosen the attorney general to advance their interests, be closely tied and connected to the president, a strong level of trust. I think after Donald Trump's experience with William Barr, who was the attorney general prior to William Barr? Was
Sessions, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Dude, we hosted Sessions 1 year. Yeah, Jeff Sessions, William Barr. I don't think Donald Trump is looking for somebody that came out of that mold of having, quote, years and years and years of experience. I don't think it worked out well for him. I think he's looking for somebody he can deeply trust that's going to advance his interests through the attorney general's office, and that matters most to Donald Trump.
Does the ability to actually do the job matter at all?
Of course it does.
Then what indication do we have that shows that Matt Gaetz can do this job in any way, shape, or form?
I've been impressed. I will tell you, I've been impressed with his questioning while sitting on some of these committees, of driving at the Department of Justice, of wanting to hold them accountable, of representing kind of America First interests against these institutions. And I think as an attorney general, he would do that from the very top, and that would be good.
He asks difficult questions. So in theory,
he holds these institutions accountable.
Right, but again, that doesn't necessarily mean ability. He's asking questions and he's pushing back on things, but it doesn't mean. But
you're talking about like ability to manage people, to prosecute something in a courtroom,
to run the Department of Justice, to run and manage all of the U.S. attorneys, to make prosecutorial decisions, to decide what is worth the time of the Department of Justice and what isn't. What are the issues that are going to be there as far as the legal entanglements in the case? What are going to be the things you have to know by putting together a large office? George Brockler was trying to hit the ground running and looking at the idea of what his office looks like and to get people in place. He didn't go out there and find people that never had any prosecutorial experience. When he's going through and he's making, when he's sitting there and he's going the interviews, he's not choosing someone that asks difficult questions and has zero experience doing the job to run the department. If he wants to bring that person in as a beginner, if that person wants to start at the bottom rung and learn the process of the office, that is great. But George Brockler is not hiring someone with zero prosecutorial experience to manage the office or the department. And we, as voters, would be idiots to put a DA in a position who has never prosecuted any cases. That would be stupid. And that's what we're trying to do with the most powerful law enforcement man in the country. We're putting him in charge, and he's never, ever even done the most basic requirements of the job. I practice law as much as Matt Gaetz does, and I don't have a law degree.
So tell me the great cases that were prosecuted and led by Eric Holder, Jeff Sessions, and William Barr.
I don't know that I had to bring up with them right now. I'll take a look and see, but I'll tell you what.
I bring that up as a point to being, I don't think that matters all as much as you're making it.
Do you think that any experience being a prosecutor matters at all if you're going to be attorney general?
I think, sure. And I think,
but he has
and
none.
look, I'm not
He
looking
has
at Matt
zero.
Gaetz going, Matt's absolutely perfect in every capacity. I think this is a weakness of his, but I think the strength, and honestly, what made Eric Holder effective was not his prosecutorial experience. What made Eric Holder effective in the eyes of Barack Obama was trust, allegiance, and willingness to drive the Obama agenda through the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
And when I look at Matt Gaetz and why Donald Trump wants him there, it's not because he has this long experience prosecuting people, but because of his effectiveness, his trust, and his ability to drive the Trump agenda through the Attorney General's office.
So ability, competency in the job doesn't matter as long as you are.
I'm pointing out it hasn't mattered for many other presidents either.
I disagree with that. I disagree, especially when you go back. I mean, Bill Barr came with a huge resume as far as ability to get things done. So I disagree.
What do you think is like more?
But hang on.
Go ahead.
But no, the issue being the experience. You're putting someone in there as the lead prosecutor in the U.S. and they have no prosecutorial experience. And I find it fascinating that an entire party is like, no, that doesn't matter. And I'm throwing the BS flag. I'm throwing the BS flag for this.
It's not that it doesn't matter. It's that there's other things that matter. No, I said it's other things matter as well. I am asking you, what were the great cases that William Barr prosecuted that were so valuable? And thank God he had all this experience and he served as a great attorney general because of what cases?
What cases has Matt Gaetz prosecuted?
That's my point.
Zero. No, here's the
You're
issue.
bringing up all this
I know.
experience. We got to have all this experience.
But
And I'm going,
they had experience.
it didn't seem to matter with William
I'm sorry,
Barr because you can't name a single one.
Again, I didn't know I had to go through resumes of the previous
But
attorney
you're the
generals.
one that was telling me how important it is.
Yes, because I believe that the ability to be a prosecutor should matter when you're going to be the AG. And the one person in this conversation that doesn't have that is Gaetz. That's the one person in this. So here's the idea. If it doesn't matter, then tell you what. Would it be okay for Hunter Biden to be Attorney General of the U.S.?
Oh.
Yes, it is. Why not?
Because he's a drug dealer, user. Has he been convicted of that?
But Matt Gaetz is a drug user. We have testimony to that. We have
Has he been
testimony.
convicted of
Hang
that?
on. We have testimony to that.
You're going to end up having to read a legal.
No, hang on a sec. I'm good on. I went through college on this, and I said we have testimony saying this happened. That's what I'm saying, and that legally is required, and that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I am. I'm going through this, and I'm making sure that I'm covering my bases on this one. But what we know, and again, Hunter Biden not convicted for drug use, so he wasn't convicted either of that. So neither one of them convicted of drug use.
Yeah.
But we do have some testimony showing that is something that happened. We have testimony showing that they are drug enthusiasts. We have testimony showing that they are enthusiasts of ladies of the night. We have testimony showing that they have.
Ladies of the night.
I appreciate that, don't you? It was a much nicer term than I was going to use. We also have some ability. We also have some testimony showing of their ability, or the fact they're not concerned about what laws they break. And we have testimony from a very good friend of Matt Gaetz' running buddy about trafficking girls across state lines that are underage in order to have sex with them. That's testimony, and that gentleman is spending 11 years in prison for it. So and guess what? And Hunter Biden has prosecuted just as many people as Matthew Gaetz has. Hunter Biden has just as much experience inside a courtroom as Matthew Gaetz does. Hunter Biden has just as much experience running a large group of organization like the Attorney General's office that Matt Gaetz does. So tell me why Hunter Biden isn't just as qualified, as long as he buys in to the Trump message, to be Attorney General, since that is the key qualification. Are you going to carry the Trump water? If Hunter Biden came out and said, I'm carrying the Trump water, is he a good AG?
No. But
okay.
No, but,
yeah, but Gaetz is.
Here's what I'm pointing out. Okay. You had Bill Barr, you had Jeff Sessions. And while they had all the great qualifications and while they had all this great experience, I don't think they were that effective in driving the Trump agenda, which the voters of this country want driven through the Attorney General's office. So, yeah, could I Frankenstein the most perfect candidate out there that is going to have 40 years of experience like Dan Caplis does, as well as be deeply committed to the American First agenda and drive that through the Attorney General's office? Absolutely. I'd love to do that.
So
but
as long
with
as Trump,
Gaetz,
as long as Hunter has a MAGA hat.
But what
it's
you
good.
got with Gaetz is somebody that I think is going to be effective at driving that agenda through the Attorney General's office. He's going to make the Attorney General's office a much better place than it was, especially under Biden's leadership. Get rid of a lot of this political stuff that's going on. He's demonstrated he's willing to call them account in his current roles in Congress, where he has the power to be able to do that. And I want to see what he can do with the Attorney General's office.
And here's the irony in that statement is that the entire reason you want Gaetz in there is because of his politics and the political bend he's going to take. And then you push back on the alleged political bent inside of the Biden administration. You're just mad about which political bent it is, but still, as long as
because I think one's better for this country than the other.
But again, you're still, you can't sit there and say I'm mad about the office playing politics if you're okay with one side playing politics. But more importantly, in that entire example, you're okay if Hunter comes out with a MAGA hat and says I'm pro-Trump, then he can be AG because he can accomplish all the stuff that he wants.
And I called this early that Trump should pardon Hunter. Do you remember that? I called that really early.
He should just make him AG because he is just as qualified as Matt Gaetz. Prove me wrong.
Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Look, if you're like me, you know that living in Colorado means dealing with unpredictable weather. Wow, it got cold yesterday. Hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it, we've got it. That's why you need a roofing company you can trust, and that's Colorado's Best Roofing. They're local, family-owned, and have served the Denver area for over 12 years. They understand our unique climate and know how to build a roof that lasts. Whether you need a repair after a storm or a whole new roof, Colorado's Best Roofing has got you covered. And here's what I really love. They offer a free, no-obligation inspection. They'll come out, take a look, and give you an honest assessment. No pressure, no gimmicks, just straight talk from the pros. Plus, they work with your insurance company to make sure you get the best coverage you deserve. So don't wait until the next big storm hits. Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today. That's 303-797-7663. That's 303-797-7663, or visit them at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Trust the best. Colorado's Best Roofing. Stephen really is a great guy. I was talking to him about his faith. He came to faith a little bit later in life and has dedicated his company to serving people. You know, you get a lot of those folks that want to build roofs. They kind of come through after a storm and they just travel. They just go with the storms. That's not Colorado's Best Roofing. This is about quality craftsmanship on your roof, getting it right. That matters. So, all right, we'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Hunter Biden for AG.
At this hour, I'm Christina Aguayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. U.S. leaders, including General Michael Flynn, are calling for Joe Biden to be immediately removed from office under the 25th Amendment in response to Biden giving Ukraine the green light to use long-range missiles in Russia. General Flynn taking to X, saying Biden's move is a clear escalation of war and he's sleepwalking the country into World War III. General Flynn wants to put constitutional pressure on Harris to invoke the 25th Amendment, is calling for the House to impeach Biden, wants incoming officials to contact Putin to de-escalate the situation, feels AG-elect Matt Gaetz needs to identify the deep state operatives pulling the strings, and most importantly, he said, pray that the country makes it to January 20th. Zelensky launched half a dozen U.S.-provided missiles into Russia one day after Biden gave the approval. The Kremlin saying they were able to intercept 5 of them and damage the 6th one, preventing any casualties. Texas public schools could use teachings from the Bible in lessons as an option for students from kindergarten through 5th grade. Hours of testimony was heard for and against the plan. It mirrors Republican-led efforts in other states to incorporate historical religious teachings into public school classrooms. The board is expected to hold a final vote on the measure Friday. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Aguayo, Salem News Channel.
this song. It's got a shot at breaking a record.
It does?
Yes.
This was the song of the summer.
Yeah. It has spent 18 weeks, I believe it is, at the top of the chart.
Wow.
Yeah. And on, I believe, top 40. 18 weeks. If it hits 19, ties a record who, crap, I can't get out of my brain as far as who it is right now. But the question is, there's now the sea change to Christmas music. And Christmas music rapidly comes up. Anybody that is in the adult contemporary world, anybody that knows Cozy, knows that all those songs that were played on Cozy now get taken and put to the side. Same thing happens as Christmas songs come on to adult contemporary stations, places like Alice and Mix, and then also Top 40, KS 107.5, things like that. So in those stations, you start having Christmas music erode the shot at Shabuzi breaking a record for a number of weeks, top of the charts. Now, it's not continuous because he was at the top, he fell, but he's back at number 1 now. And I, for one, I hope he breaks the record, but this is going to be interesting the next couple of weeks.
I've listened to some of his other stuff, and he strikes me as a one-hit wonder.
It's his other stuff isn't my flavor. He works well in the urban and the rap side of things, but this is a definite crossover hit, and this is going to be his biggest song forever. And again, it's got a little bit of country twang. It's definitely outside of what he normally does. I am not overarching. I appreciate what he does. I'm not a Shabuzi fan. I'm not going to go to the concert. Anything else? Free tickets? Sure, I'll go. But I appreciate what he can do musically. But no, I agree. This is his best song by far. And if you like this song, you're not going to like the rest of the album.
Yeah, right. No. They don't sound anything like it.
Not even close.
It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't you remember that though as a kid? You go out and you buy the album because you like the one song and you're like, the rest of this sucks.
I may have, I'm going to make a confession here.
Yeah, please. I want to know.
I found a record store that sold me an NWA album.
Woo! My man.
That took me to places I probably shouldn't have been as a young man.
Oh, NWA is awesome. Oh, man. Yeah. Now, which one? Was it Straight Outta Compton? Was it the original?
It might have been. There's so much inappropriate stuff on that album.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But that's kind of what the rap gig was at the time. And then I'm going to be a little disappointed if you didn't also get a Public Enemy album at the same time.
Yeah, no, I didn't go there.
Oh, that's disappointing. You got to do the NWA and the Public Enemy at the same time.
I went through the only band like I got really into. Like seriously, like went and dove into all their B tracks and all that stuff.
Ooh, who is
Can
this?
You guess it?
Keith Urban.
No,
sorry,
that's my wife.
I'm just playing. What is it?
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, really? You're a Chili Peppers fan? Okay.
I got so deep into that and the different guitarists, and then Dave Navarro from the John Fuentes and all that stuff.
John Frusciante.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
See, it was a while ago.
Okay, we're going to push pause on the regularly scheduled Jeff and Bill show here for a little bit. Chili Peppers, fantastic band. Great with Hillel Slovak, passes away.
Yes.
John Frusciante brings them to another level. Frusciante is fantastic. I like what Navarro does, and he comes out of Jane's Addiction.
Yes.
But he's not the same and doesn't bring the same thing musically.
Nope.
When Frusciante is playing off of what Flea does on the bass, that's magic. They do stuff there that is unlike anything else in music. But when he's not there, they're severely lacking, in my opinion.
And the whole transition that took place under the song Under the Bridge Downtown, which was a poem written about the death of Hillel.
Yeah,
right?
Hillel. And in fact, the story behind that, Rick Rubin found that in a notebook while they were recording. Yeah. And he was just looking for lyrics and some other stuff and ideas and inspirations. And he comes to Anthony and says, here, man, what about this? Can we do this? And Anthony's like, that's not even a song. That's just poems I'm writing. And he had to push Anthony for weeks before he brought it to the band. And the band's finally like, oh, no, we love that. We love that. Here's another one. Soul to Squeeze was a very popular song. It's about heroin. It's about heroin addiction. Do you remember what album you had to buy in order to get Soul to Squeeze? Because it's not on a regular Chili Peppers release. No. It's on the Conehead soundtrack. So
really?
Yes. So here's the thing. SNL ripoff, comedy sketch, comedy movie, heroin song. I don't get it.
Gosh.
Why in the comedy movie do we have the heroin song? I never understood that. But for the longest time, that's the only one. Okay. What was your first Chili Peppers album? What is the first one you grabbed?
Blood, Sex, Magic.
Oh, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic.
Yeah, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic.
Oh, that's a nice one. Good for Shante. That's a great way to start. Did you go back to Mother's Milk?
Mm-hmm. I went down all the rabbit holes.
Mother's Milk is fantastic.
Yep.
So underappreciated. Mother's Milk for me is one of their best albums ever.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic era of what they were doing. Blood Sugar Sex Magic is good. Californication, getting into that stuff. Okay. Stadium Arcadium. Yeah.
No, those early days.
The
were
early,
the best.
And Blood Sugar Sex Magic is that's fantastic.
Look,
Nicely done. my
there
friend.
you go. That's funny. I probably could have thrown out. Here's the thing about Bill. I could have thrown out any band and we would have had the same 10-minute conversation.
Yes, we
right?
would have.
It's not that he's like this deep Chili Peppers fan. It's that he's deep on all these bands.
Yeah, I do. I go
so
hard.
I could have been like,
Dude,
some random ska band from the
my
90s.
buddies Pete and Boz dropped a new one. Yeah, Action Man.
I have no idea who that is.
I know. They are septuagenarian rappers out of England.
Oh, those guys.
Those dudes.
Those
Pete
guys are
Boz.
hilarious.
Yes, they
They're
dropped a new one.
They're
Action
big
Man.
on social media right now.
It is fantastic. It is so
you
good.
listen to these guys and you're like, oh, those sound like rappers, just urban rappers from England.
Yeah.
And then you go and they're dressed in these 3-piece suits.
Yeah.
And they're in their 80s.
Yeah, they're
and
70s and
70s.
80s. Yeah, that's fantastic. They are so good.
All right,
Yeah,
look,
okay.
with all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to tell you about Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. See for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. Every single person in this office is delightful. Their knowledge and consultative approach to dental care is fantastic. I highly recommend them to everyone I know. Look, if your gums are receding, especially if you're 40s or 50s, it's critical to address this issue promptly. Here's why. It's only going to get worse. And as it gets worse, it doesn't just affect your gums. You'll actually lose the thickness of your bones in your jaw, and that means your teeth are going to fall out. You got to talk to Dr. Mike because he's a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The pinhole surgery is so painless that many clients go on to have other areas of their mouth treated as well. They also offer sedation if you have any apprehension at all. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Mike. Call 303-233-1335. That's 303-233-1335 or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Taking your request right after this.
Who's that?
Sorry. That's further off the air. Sorry.
Okay, no,
Gorka reminds me of a Bond villain. Every time I hear that, I keep hearing him going, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." I'm sorry. That's every time I hear him. He's a Bond villain. That's okay. Again, like the fact that he's on the show. Appreciate
I love
it,
the Sebastian Gorka.
I just want his paycheck. That's all.
Yeah,
That's all I want. That's just for a week. Can I try? Just try it out, just to see what it's like. Just to see.
I want to tell you, if you've got some food needs, especially next week during Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we're getting serious. This is throwdown time for chow.
Black Eyed Pea is the place to go. Look, here's the deal.
Yeah, don't do the dishes. Don't do the dishes. Don't do the cooking.
You're going to have family in, and maybe on Thanksgiving you're going to provide food, but you need to go to another place, all that stuff. All right, we as conservatives out here, we're all about Make America Healthy again. It's not about eating crickets. It's not about eating little crackers or just salads all the time. It's about quality. It's quality beef, quality vegetables. It's eating the good food. That is the Black Eyed Pea of Colorado. They're locally owned and operated by Steve and Michelle. I love this restaurant with 8 locations. There's sure to be one near you. When's the last time you took the family to eat at the Black Eyed Pea? Was there last week with my family? Totally full. Totally full. Thanksgiving will be here soon, and it's easier to give thanks when you don't have to cook. Black Eyed Pea will be open on Thanksgiving Day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and will be serving all your holiday favorites: roasted turkey breast dinner, old-fashioned country ham, slow-cooked pot roast, all for $24. My daughter had the spuds. She had the meatloaf spud, and it was delicious.
Okay, talk to me about that. What meatloaf spud? So what are they doing with it? Just give me a little bit. Yeah,
I've never seen this before, but they basically mix it all together inside the potato.
No.
And they have cheesy spuds. Oh. They have lots of different types of spuds. They got like 8 different versions of them, but it's awesome.
I'm hungry. I'm so hungry. The idea of getting mom's meatloaf and scooping it into the spud is just, delicious.
Mix it all together because that's the best way to eat it.
Yeah, that is.
Then we all had, me and the kids, all had the Mile High pound of chocolate cake.
Really? Now, was it a shared piece? Was it like 1 piece and 5 forks, or was it
one piece and 5 forks?
Yeah, because that's not a solo game. That is not a solo game.
Not.
That is.
I'd eat that for a week.
And that's a great idea. That, remember, Thanksgiving is a difficult time. The family is coming over, friends are coming over. Dishes, the complications with cooking. Instead, just take everybody out to Black Eyed Pea. They're going to do the cooking. They're going to do the dishes. You guys are going to have an easy meal. Plus, you get to spend all that time watching the football, talking to each other, and not worried about it. Nobody is trapped in the kitchen. Nobody's stuck in the kitchen, not being able to participate in the rest of the conversations. You have a fun conversation with a wonderfully owned Colorado business serving you some of the best food around. And again, no dishes. If you can tell who had to do the dishes in my house when I was growing up, this dude right here.
Let them do the cooking for you.
They'll take
and
care of
keep
it for
in
you.
Colorado. Visit Black Eyed Pea near you. All right, coming up, there's land being set aside in Texas for the mass deportations. We'll get into that. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm hungry now. Aren't you?
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history, and we're off and run. We got a whole nother hour planned for you of critical analysis, engaging discussions, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. When you text us, those texts come right into the studio here, which is very, very cool. All right, after news and comment with Blake Olson, 100% on board. A border state offers Trump a massive plot of land to aid in mass deportation operations.
There's a Monty Python joke in there somewhere from the Holy Grail. Huge tracts of land. Sorry, the castle in the swamp. Sorry. Okay, go ahead. I distract everybody. My huge tracts of land. Yes.
I don't know Monty Python well enough to get those references. I just know the time when he gets, it's just a flesh wound.
I'm going to go cry a little bit here.
Monty Python, Star Wars, music. We're just different people.
Yes, we are. And that's how this works, my friend.
All right. Let's start check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. 31 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 50 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story: after school on Monday, a Douglas County school bus driver dropped 40 elementary school children off in an area different from their bus stop, and parents are demanding, answers from the school and the district. That would frighten me also.
Yeah,
Douglas
seriously.
County School District says that they're in contact with the families, and it's incredibly concerning as the student safety is their priority. The bus driver is currently on leave. Yeah, that would frighten me.
So I was thinking about it. I want to ask both you, Blake, and Billy about this. I grew up riding buses home, right? And there's a jungle atmosphere on those buses. There's bullies, there's, situations you got to deal with, your crush, all that stuff. It's just chaos when you, especially like the 5th, 6th, 7th grade years, riding a bus home is just chaotic. Okay. Yep. And I think it teaches you some important life lessons. But I think a lot of kids, including ours, who attend a classical charter school, there's no bus service. So you got to do the drop off and pick up stuff. Exactly. Do you think kids are missing out in life by not
a good question.
riding the bus home?
No. No. In fact, I would want extra security on the buses. I think the behavior that is allowed on the buses is absolutely ridiculous, because as you outlined, Jeff, it is the opportunity for those people that have those negative influences to take advantage of the other kids.
It's a jungle.
Oh
man.
and they are negatively impacting the other students' ability to learn in some ways, and also then their community in school, because you realize that inside that school, what they're teaching you is that some of these people, when given the chance, are going to take advantage of you. In some ways, they are going to be violent towards you. In some ways, they're going to hit you and hurt you.
They're total jerks. But isn't it important to learn to deal with those types of folks? Like I remember, I was 7th grade. Remember this exactly. This kid would push me down out of the bus every single time, or maybe 6th grade. Man. So I learned to walk fast, right? I'm just, I'm going to get off. And then eventually I just had enough and stood up to him and threw him back down. And I feel like that maybe it was a little life lesson that's how you got to learn to stand up to bullies.
Yeah, there's some of that. And my 8th grader, he just got on the bus, not too far from the house here. And I think about that, often, because I had a couple of those experiences, but no, I guess it's part of a life lesson. But, you picture, I don't want to make light of it, but you said it's a jungle in there. And I can kind of picture the driver just pulling over on the side of the road.
I'm done with this.
Get out. I don't care. I don't care if I get fired.
Yeah.
I mean, that's horrible.
It's like that, Chris Farley. What movie is that? Billy Madison, where he just loses his mind as the bus driver. But here's another question. Here's a bigger question. Our culture has gone with bullies, and believe me, the bullies that I knew growing up are now in prison. Okay.
Same.
Our culture to deal with those types of people has gone in the track record of like anti-bullying, right? They have these anti-bullying months and anti-bullying stuff and all that. And I don't disagree with that, but should it be better to teach our kids to stand up to bullies? Like, you're going to run into these types of people in life. Developing the skill set of confrontation, of shutting these types of bullies down is an important skill set to have in life. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, there's different spectrums too. I mean, that gets in a dangerous area also. I used to think that, but man, kids are so different. You know, there's just so many different types. It's just, it is a challenge to say the least. And it's a wild,
question I've got is, allow, where do you draw the line?
No, I don't think you allow it at all, but I'm wondering if we're equipping.
You said we should, though. You said
I said
the kid has to learn how to deal with the bully,
to confront them.
I know. So if you're saying the kid has to learn to confront the bully, that means that the action is okay. You're not going to take action against that bully.
No, I'm just wondering if the best way to deal with all of that was through this kind of like anti-bullying effort, right? Like, we're going to have these weeks and talk about bullying and all that stuff. Or is the best way to confront these bullies to teach kids to confront them?
No, the best way is to punish the bullies through the system, and they're not. They're not held
You don't
responsible.
think so? You don't think they're held responsible?
No, not in the least. No way are they ever held responsible from the schools or the school districts. No. And that is why the behavior continues to happen. And I disagree that we need to put the ownership of fighting back for yourself necessarily on that young child, especially if it's an 8th grader that's bullying a 6th grader. The 6th grader shouldn't have to learn that they've got to physically fight back. And if we're talking about how you're going to resolve conflict, the one thing we don't lean into is do this back to the bully. The issue is the structure in and of itself doesn't hold the bully responsible. And that is a failure of the school system. That is a failure of the teachers. That is a failure of the teachers' assistants. That is a failure of the security system. And that is a failure of the parents.
I mean, and Bill, this is where I think we naturally go our different ways, because you look at it structurally. And you go, well, we have all these structural issues we have to address. And I'm like, no, I think if the 6th grader gave him a little bit of a slug back, it's probably going to finally teach that bully a life lesson he needs.
But what if the bully turns around and the 6th grader gets a slug back, and the bully turns around and hits the guy several times in the face and knocks out a couple of teeth?
And then he fights back harder.
No, he doesn't have any teeth. He's learned that he can't. So now what you've created is a victim. He now knows when he runs into someone like that he's now the victim. What you're doing is you're setting up.
I think you've got to teach them that there are serious consequences, and the consequences to bullying somebody is not a structure that's going to come down on them, but a punch right back in the nose.
So in other words, you would be okay with middle school fight club. That should be a sanctioned class.
I think you're jumping to a conclusion.
No, but we have to teach the bullies about this, and we have to teach the kids to defend themselves. So regardless of the situation with the bully,
we should teach kids to defend themselves?
Depends on what you mean by defend. Are you talking about personal self-defense?
Sure,
go right ahead. If you want to do a martial arts class in schools and stuff like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But your issue was that we need to have the kids self-regulate this by beating each other up. So if we're going to do that, let's sanction it inside a school, so at least we can monitor it and have the nurse there. So let's do it.
But then we can't talk about it, Bill, and that's part of the problem.
Yes, exactly. Middle school fight club.
It'll probably be a better fight than the Tyson fight.
Yeah, it probably will be.
Now I'm finding out that thing was fixed. What a shocker.
Yeah, I know. Did you see those videos?
I saw those videos, and I actually believe them. I mean, it makes sense.
I do too.
Now that I learned about more about what's his name, Paul, and what Billy said about him, and all the information, I think it may have been fixed. All right, man, you got me thinking, Jeff. Doggone it. All right, the U.S. is closing its embassy in Ukraine because there could be a significant air attack by Russia. No way. The communists running the White House right now, officially, Biden or whoever, approved Ukraine using U.S. missiles to strike Russia on Tuesday. The U.S. has been poking the bear for 30 years. NBC News correspondent Jack Crumley on with Jeff and Billy this morning.
The immediate reaction from the White House has been that this is just more irresponsible rhetoric coming out of Moscow. The threat of the use of nuclear weapons in this conflict is something that Russia has trotted out there almost since the beginning. Russia's going to do what Russia wants to do with.
Then don't provoke them. Stop. And if you really want to know more about why we're in this situation, I always listen to the Professor Jeffrey Sachs.
So this is America fighting, shooting missiles into deep Russian territory. Right. Americans doing this. This is the point people need to understand. And the Russians said, if you do this, we are at war with you. Well, thank you, Mr. Biden. You do not have the constitutional authority for that. You may not have the mental competency for that. You certainly have not had any deliberations with the American people or with our representatives in Congress about this. And you reversed a decision from 2 weeks ago without any justification on your way out after your administration was repudiated. It's a disgrace.
DJT naming transition co-chair Linda McMahon as education secretary. She was given the nod after Trump named his other transition co-chair, Howard Lutnick, the new Commerce Department secretary. A report related to an investigation into Trump's pick for AG, Matt Gaetz, will be the focus of a closed-door meeting by the House Ethics Committee today. A number of Senate Republicans and Democrats have said they want to review the report about allegations of sexual misconduct and illicit drug use before Gaetz's confirmation hearing next year. House Speaker Mike Johnson said the report shouldn't come out because Gaetz resigned from Congress after being nominated by the committee and no longer has jurisdiction. Sonny Hostin, on The View.
How could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking across state lines and having sex with a 17-year-old? My understanding further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex.
And then 3 minutes later, she had to clean it all up.
Sonny, you have a legal note. I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought. We'll be right back.
She was thrilled to read that.
It's one thing to listen to it. It's totally another experience to watch it.
Looks like a hostage video.
It does. It's exactly right. It looks like a hostage video.
It does. It does.
Just
I must
having
admit.
to read things about someone she despises to her core.
Right. Can't stand him.
You know, guys, yesterday I said, I'm going to dive over. I'm going to watch MSNBC for a little bit.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I can only stand that for
It is so low energy. It's so low energy.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I watched the lady in the afternoon over there, and it was just no joy. No joy. They talk about Trump taking away joy. They don't have joy to begin with.
Oh, man. Oh, there's no doubt. And plus, they want to sell. They're up for sale, right?
Or
they are.
CNN or
yep.
I think
Billy ought to
MSNBC.
buy it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're all up
Billy
there.
should buy it.
Oh, no.
Jeff, you should buy it.
I don't want to be responsible for those people.
Just switch it all up, man. Make it a music network.
Okay, now you got something. now I could do that. I could do that one.
I know you could. Nuggets over the Grizz, 122-110. Former UNC star Dalton Knecht, 37 points, 6 for 6 from three-point land. Lakers over the Jazz and the Avs over the Capitals. Deion Sanders says he's not leaving CU. It's still early. Buffs play host they actually take on Kansas on the road at Arrowhead Stadium this weekend. 30 in Glendale, 28 in Westminster, and 31 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue, and I don't think there'll be any ladies of the night anywhere near.
Yeah, can we just bring it up? Here's a good message, and I got beat up in the media for this. I'll say it over and over and over again. Live the Billy Graham, Mike Pence rule in your professional life, and it just saves you from all of these headaches. And it's the idea that you just don't put yourself alone with women that aren't, or anybody of the opposite sex. That's not, you're not married to. Don't travel with them. Don't go out to dinner with them.
They're
just
not
keep
your
it
friend.
Keep it professional.
Friends, exactly.
Keep the door open to your office.
Give them the Heisman. Stiff arm them. Get away.
I'm telling you, for critiques you can have about Mike Pence, you're not dealing with crap like this and allegations like this, and you never have.
True. No, that's true, but I'd rather you be more like Billy Graham.
Yes.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Colorado will find itself wedged between two big storms, one to our east, one to our west. We're going to be in the high pressure in between. So nice weather through Saturday. Cool today, warming to the upper 40s and near 50, upper 20s and low 30s tonight. We're going to be in the upper 50s and lower 60s and dry for Thursday, for Friday, for Saturday. Increasingly cloudy Sunday, late Sunday into Monday, our next chance is snow. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, Texas is offering the incoming Trump administration a tract of more than 1,400 acres on which to stage its mass deportation operation when it enters office in January, as the transition team begins to make preparations for the ambitious project. This being reported exclusively by Fox News. Texas Land Commissioner Don Buckingham has written to President-elect Donald Trump offering him the land in Starr County, which the state purchased from a ranch owner in October. The 1,402 acres are in the Rio Grande Valley sector near the border. Her letter to Trump, obtained by Fox News Digital, says her office is, quote, fully prepared to enter in an agreement with the Department of Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or the United States Border Patrol to allow a facility to be built for the processing, detention, and coordination of the largest deportation of violent criminals in the nation's history. What I care about, the letter continues, is that we have safe communities, and there's no doubt that we are losing too many of our children to these violent criminals that are coming across the border. I'm 100% on board with the Trump administration pledge to get these criminals out of the country, and we are more than happy to offer our resources to facilitate these deportations of these violent criminals. Looks like it's starting to come together. Starting to build out the process in order to do this. Now, last time Donald Trump tried to do this, like day one, lawsuit. It seems like that'll be the case on the progressive side again. They're going to want to try to stop this and slow it down. But I imagine the Trump administration's anticipating that and probably going to try to find ways through or around that. But now the land's being developed. They said the military is going to be used in order to do this. The plan is coming together. Do you think they're actually going to start mass deportating people, Bill?
I am right now. I remain unconvinced. Let's see how this works out. I still don't understand the process or the procedure. I don't understand how we're going to use the military as a law enforcement agency. I haven't seen anything outlined how they're going to go after these people. What's going to be the process as far as who's chosen to go first and how. We keep hearing about all the criminals. Okay, but which criminals are we going to do? Are we going after people that are already locked up in prison and jail across the country. Okay, that's fair enough, but that's not going to get you close near to the number, because Donald Trump was running around 13,000, but he's been claiming 22 million. So that 13,000 that are already locked up doesn't get you anywhere close to your goal. You can't go in and grab someone like, we have the Lincoln Riley trial going on right now.
Yeah, that is terrible, by the way.
But you can't. Oh, it's awful. It's absolutely horrible. And I'm also hearing rumors that his brother may testify against him because of some of the things that have come out about the attack and everything else. The brother's like, whoa, hang on a sec. So I don't know.
Did you hear about the recording, by the way?
Yeah.
Between him and his, I think his fiance, and where she's like,
awful.
I know what you do.
Yeah.
She doesn't claim, like, she doesn't give an admission of guilt with regards to him. But there's this interesting sentence there about, I kind of know who you are.
Yeah.
And what the police think happened was that guy just got hammered, and then decided to go hunt down anybody he could find.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing is, and this is not, I'm not saying I've known people exactly like that, but I can think of two people in my friend group over the years. They're not current friends now, but over the years, there are two people that immediately come to mind that they have a tipping point. And once their alcohol volume reaches a certain area, they're fighting. There was someone we knew in high school and into college that we knew, and we had to, in parties, literally start watering down beers and things and other drinks, because if this person hit a threshold, there was going to be a fight, and it didn't matter who he was punching. It didn't matter. And sometimes there are people that are wired that way, and he's absolutely and horribly, it's atrocious what it looks like he's done. Let's hope that they can prove it in court and get a guilty verdict. But that is not someone Donald Trump could pick up and deport right now, because he is required to have due process.
Right.
Now, afterwards he can, but he couldn't yank him out of the courtroom right now. And the other problem you have is we are not in Minority Report. We can't have any precognition of the crimes you're going to commit. So the idea of, okay, we're going to go after the criminals, that's fair, but that's not going to get you anywhere close to what you need based on those numbers. So that's what I'm curious about.
What do you think about these states and cities that are like, no, we're going to fight it? Like Los Angeles, for instance. We want to be a place where illegal immigrants can live.
Now, legal immigrants, that sounds great.
Yeah, but they're not doing that. I mean, nobody. I don't
legal,
know any. I don't know anybody who's going, legal immigrants have got to go.
Well, yeah, our current president-elect and his vice president during the campaign had talked about getting people that would be legal out of the country, and that would be Haiti, the Haitian immigrants in Springfield. They are in the country illegally. They're on temporary protected status. They didn't cross. They didn't come in here.
They're here
under a boat.
Did you say illegally or legally?
Legally. They're here legally.
They're here legally.
Yeah, but Donald Trump and JD Vance have both talked about
they're on a temporary thing, right?
I know, but they're here legally. So what Donald Trump and JD Vance have talked about is deporting them. That would be a deportation of people that are here legally. They can yank that temporary protected status, fine. But again, that's going after people that didn't sneak into the country. They came in here through a process that was legal at the time. But are we going to go after those? That's what I want to know. I understand the idea. We have this giant camp that we're going to start building. Okay, who are we going to go after? And the problem I see is one that I've been outlining for a while. The easiest people to grab and define, because if you want the numbers and to show you're taking action, are the ones that are least likely to do the crimes. The people that are living the most in the open, the people that are the easiest to find, are the ones that are least likely to get a threat, to be a threat. So there's a law of diminishing returns, that if you're trying to find the people that are going to be the most danger to our society, it is more time, it is more costly, it is more, you have to have more of a time investment, and it becomes more difficult to go after them. Also, they're more dangerous ones to catch. So it all becomes more complicated if we're going to go after, and more expensive.
I wonder how much all of this too is like a message to people that outside of crossing the border, which I think is a crime. Yeah. And in doing that, that makes them a criminal from my perspective.
Yeah.
But generally live decent lives, are looking at all of this going, military? They've now secured the land. They're going to start building the housing.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Honey, we're going back.
Here's the thing this is the problem, is that is based, in my opinion, that is based on a false assumption of the illegal immigrant community. Because when we talk to the illegal immigrant community, they don't view crossing our border illegally and coming into the country as a crime. They don't. They view that like jaywalking as a minor. They don't view that.
Yeah, I
as,
understand there's a crime, but don't
but
you see them looking at the consequences of that going?
No, because
whoa,
and here's the
things are
reason
getting
why.
serious here.
They don't believe that when Trump is talking, he's talking about them. They firmly, and all the stuff that we've seen in focus groups, when they talk about Donald Trump deporting, they talk about, oh yeah, they're deporting the criminals, the gang members. I just came into this country illegally, yes, but I'm looking for a better life, and I've been an upstanding citizen. I haven't broken any rules. They firmly do not believe Donald Trump is targeting them. And that's going to be the huge disconnect for so many families and so many communities across the country, because I agree with you. Donald Trump is absolutely targeting them. They just don't believe it. And that's why you saw some of the support inside of the immigrant community because of that.
We're getting some breaking news. Jose Ibarra is found guilty of murdering Laken Riley.
Good. Thank goodness. Now, here's the question, though. Now, that's the type of criminal that you absolutely want out of this country. But do you deport him?
Yeah, and that is a really good question, because here's both sides of that.
Yeah.
$40,000 a day to tax, or $40,000 a year to taxpayers to house this guy? Or does he go back to Venezuela and Venezuela is like, whatever, let's him back out on the street?
Here's the thing, Maduro doesn't care.
Yeah.
Because Maduro won't even share his criminal convictions with us. When we're getting people through Venezuela, Maduro won't even tell us whether or not these people are criminals. So he's not playing around with us. And, if we think that if Donald Trump is saying that Venezuela and these other countries were emptying their prisons and their mental institutions, which was stupid. But again, if he thinks they're emptying their prisons, why do we not think that if we deport this killer, and we can say now he is a convicted killer, back to Venezuela, Maduro won't write him a check to come back here into the U.S. and do more stuff? Why do we believe that by removing him, we have removed the threat? And that is a really weird intellectual exercise, because it may be an argument that instead of deporting someone that has killed an American citizen, we are safer if we put him into our prisons. But that's not the promise that has been made. And I don't think we are safer if we throw him back into Venezuela. I don't think we're safe.
Guilty on 10 counts in Laken Riley's murder. Jose Ibarra found guilty on 10 counts.
Now, this is bittersweet, because
Riley murder.
You want him to be held responsible. And it's nice the justice system has provided justice for the Riley family, but it doesn't make them whole. It's never going to be okay.
No.
They're never going to celebrate another holiday, and it's going to be okay.
Breadman texting, the guy in Georgia gets deported feet first in a box. I don't disagree with you, Breadman.
Now,
that's one way to send him back to Venezuela.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. The thing is, I'm very malleable on the death penalty.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sold on the fact of it being a deterrent, because I'm not sold on the fact that anybody that commits a crime actually thinks they're going to be held responsible, because if you did, you wouldn't commit it in the first place. So I question some of that deterrence aspect. But if we're talking about this as far as a revenge factor, and if we're going that way, okay, I'm in. I'll push my chips into the center and say, yeah, if this guy, because he took Laken Riley's life, that we're going to go ahead and then take his life afterwards. Again, I disagree with some of the appeals processes, etc. But it's not based on, quote, justice, but just based on more of a revenge factor. All right, I can get there. I'm that twisted. I
don't think it's twisted. I think it's a call for justice. And I think the human psyche longs for that form of justice, where you go, this guy's going to be put away for the rest of his life. He's going to watch cable television, get to lift weights, enjoy 3 meals a day. Meanwhile, Laken Riley's family is going to think about that loss every single day. Do I consider that justice served? No, I don't. I think justice served would be to Breadman's post, feet first in a box, ship back, and maybe even just dropped out of the airplane over Venezuela. Here, welcome back.
Here's a part, and again, I'm going to disappoint a lot of people listening to our show at this point, and other people are going to go, hey, I like believing more after this. There's part of me that does thirst for that revenge in these type of violent crimes, in these type of situations where, and this is why you should never nominate me as Attorney General of the United States of America. To call back to what we were doing the last couple hours, I should never be the AG, because I would be okay with, in cases like this, after the verdict, that we take the killer into a room, and then every member of Lakin Riley's family gets a baseball bat in 5 minutes, and you just take turns. And then at the end of that, you get 5 minutes, and there's a timer, and there's a 30-second warning signal, and after the 5, you get to do it. And then after that, he deals with the consequences of the revenge, because there's part of me that revenge, okay, but we have to admit that that's part of the revenge. As long as we're open and honest about it, I can get there. I am that twisted.
I don't know if I would put it in the twisted category, because I've often said, especially with these school shooters, that we should bring back public executions.
Yeah.
I think if people sat there and watched what happens to people that harm our kids with guns.
Here's the thing for me, is for those school shooters that go in there and they kill multiple kids, killing them once isn't enough for me. That's why I like the revenge factor, because if
there's eternal damnation and suffering.
I know, but
Mr.
guess
Roman
what?
Catholic.
The one right here feels so much better. It feels so much better.
Well, speaking of something that'll make you feel better, did you know that last year, well, before I get into this with Empower Home, if you really do want to feel good about selling your home, right, and you want somebody that's going to be a pro to really help you get that home sold, to make you feel good about it, it's Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Here's why. Last year, over 49% of homes listed did not sell with the real estate agent who took their initial listing. Could you imagine that? That's half. Half of the folks out there went and did the whole walkthrough, got the house pretty, and took all the pictures and sat down with the real estate agent and worked through all the details. And then they had to change agents. Half. This costs home sellers thousands of dollars in lower offers and painful holding costs. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams have a track record of selling homes fast, and they get their home sellers 6.1% more money on average, netting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. Look, if you've gotten to a point of life, kind of like you are with me, you've probably had to sell your house a few times, move, relocate for jobs, all that stuff, and you've had a bad experience with a real estate agent, okay? This is a business deal for your family. This is about getting the most money you possibly can. And the people I trust to do this, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. They get their home sellers 6.1% more money on average, netting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. They do this using their proven proprietary systems and guarantees. Go with the team that doesn't just make empty promises, but can actually provide proof of their experience and a track record of getting homes sold for top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team is so confident in the services they provide and the results that they can get you that if you're not happy, you can cancel at any time. No cost to you. This is their cancellation promise. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or visit gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Aguayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. An emotional day in court during the Laken Riley murder trial when it was revealed that Riley's mother missed her daughter's final text message and phone call before being murdered while out on a At this hour, I'm Christina Aguayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Congresswoman Nancy Mace is getting some graphic death threats after she introduced a bill on Capitol Hill that would ban transgenders from entering into the women's bathrooms at the U.S. Capitol. One of the videos from an LGBTQ activist and the person who appears to be a transgender graphically describes how they would kill her.
And drag your face down to the floor.
Mace's resolution was sparked after the first transgender lawmaker was elected to Congress. The representative from South Carolina says even though she's being threatened, she will not back down from protecting women.
I find it reprehensible. I find it deeply disturbing that a biological man would demand to be in a private woman's space, whether it be a locker room, a changing room, a restroom. I don't care what it is. You don't belong there.
New York prosecutors oppose any effort to dismiss President Donald Trump's hush money conviction, but instead they say they want to delay his sentencing until after he finishes his second term in office. In a court filing, they said they're okay with a sentencing delay while Trump's lawyers fight to get the case tossed out in light of his election. Judge Juan Merchan has not set a timetable for his decision. Trump's spokesperson said the filing from prosecutors is a, quote, total and definitive victory for Trump.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Ohio, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Breaking news. Jose Ibarra found guilty on 10 counts, including the murder of Blake and Riley. Justice, in my mind, is the execution of Jose Ibarra and then having his body dropped out of the back of a plane in Venezuela. How much do you hold accountable the Biden administration for this? The guy came in. They knew he had done something wrong with a minor. They still allowed him to get the work permit. He was on an airplane. They flew him from New York to Georgia. Does the Biden administration have blood on their hands with regards to Laken Riley?
I don't know, because it's hard for me, because I would have to know more about what Justice Department and everything else knew beforehand, especially if, again, we'll call back to earlier, Matt Gaetz hasn't been convicted of anything. So if this guy also hadn't been convicted of anything, can we make that assumption? Because we're not, earlier in the conversation, supposed to make the same assumption with Gaetz, according to members in Congress. I, however, personally am going to make the assumption. I will make the assumption on both of them. I will be happy to make that assumption. I do think there is a problem, although I don't think necessarily the Biden administration has blood on their hands, because I have a problem when you're going to hold an administration responsible for everything. And this is any of the behaviors of anybody at all, because you could say, in theory, you could probably twist it to a point of, is the Biden administration responsible for the school shootings? Is the Biden administration responsible for these rapes? Is the Biden administration responsible for? So I have a problem with that, and I have a problem doing it with the Trump administration as well. But I do think that the lack of law enforcement and the lack of concern by the Biden administration is a black mark and is an issue. And if the Trump administration can change that, okay, that's a win. But as we outlined earlier, it's going to be very difficult as far as what you're going to do with these type of criminals, because I'm not certain that what we want to see is this guy being sent back to Venezuela. Because the last thing we want to see is him posting on TikTok and Instagram about, now I'm out at the bar, look at me, I'm living life, and
it's like that dude from that murdered that American girl in Aruba.
Yeah.
Exactly. Remember? And then he went on to murder another woman.
Yeah. And he's just running around for a while. Yeah, exactly. Same
that
kind of
guy
thing.
was crazy.
Yeah. So
no,
that's the difficulty.
But I think this guy came across Biden administration officials multiple times. There were opportunities to stop him. He was found guilty of doing something. I don't know what it was with a minor, to the point where they knew that. They knew that this was not a clean guy that's just trying to live quietly here. He had done something wrong with a minor, and they still gave him the work permit. They allowed him to work here. I absolutely hold the Biden administration accountable for this, because they interacted with him. Look, did you wake up with joint pain today? Does it hurt when you do even the most routine physical activities? Have they told you it's time for knee or hip replacement surgery? Stop what you're doing and listen. You deserve a life of comfort and ease with no surgery and no meds. At QC Kinetics, they can get you there. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative cellular treatments for joint pain. This is an all-natural approach that harnesses your body's own healing properties to treat the root cause of your arthritic pain. Everybody's talking about it now, and it's so cutting edge. The protocols developed by QC Kinetics are life-changing for so many people. Tens of thousands of satisfied patients with more every day. Yes, you can have real lasting relief from chronic joint pain without drugs, without surgery, and without downtime. Discover your options with advanced regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. The consultation is absolutely free. 303, here's their phone number, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. Get the care you need with QC Kinetics. Joel here in our office playing more golf than ever as a result of QC Kinetics. So you don't want to go down surgery, drugs, all that stuff. Get the care you need with them. With locations in Aurora, Superior, Highlands Ranch, and Colorado Springs, QC Kinetics can serve you. We'll get to your phone calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
going to warm up a little bit today. 48 degrees, sunny and cool. Tomorrow, 58. Friday, 63. Saturday, 65.
Oh my God, that means I'm gonna
love it.
I'm gonna get to wash the car Thursday or Friday.
Yes.
I'm excited about that. Probably will be my Friday.
And then the
activity.
snow comes back on Tuesday, so you can get the snow.
Damn
get your
it.
car all dirty.
Yeah, I will. But I got to get the dirt off of it. It's just a little dirty on it. But I can't stand that.
Look, for a lot of us out there, it's happening. Your hair happens to be thinning. Maybe your crown's disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling like your identity's lost altogether. Well, I've got good news. And I've seen my family members go through this. It's tough. It's tough to lose your hair, especially if you're in the dating pool. You got to get that fixed. It brings back the fact that you look younger, but it also brings back an energy in your life that's really important, right? This is an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE with advanced hair. Look, if you're on Instagram, probably like me, you've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They might help retain what you have, but what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently growing in specific areas? From advanced hair state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls, it's not maybe will your hair regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why advanced hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, listen to this, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. You got to give them a call today, 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Advancedhair.com. Bring back all that youthfulness, energy. Get the ladies all excited about dating you. Advancedhair.com. We'll fix that for you. Advancedhair.com. All right. It's been a heck of a show.
Has it ever?
Billy
so much fun.
Billy and I just blew up the text messages today, which was just crazy, and the viewership online. And I think it's because you and I, from like 6:02, jumped into it and
great.
just debated.
And again, thanks to everybody that is spending time with us watching online and everyone in the text messages. We have gone back and forth. I mean, it's a waterfall of messages from each and every one of you. And we understand you have busy lives. We appreciate you hanging out with us and letting us join your life for even a little bit in the morning. And we appreciate your interaction, whether it's through the Twitters, the YouTubes, the text messages, or on the phone. We appreciate the conversation, even though we didn't have so many phone calls today. Some of us, our problem, we had phone lines sitting there, and then he and I got into it, and they just couldn't sit. But we appreciate your time, and every time you reach out to us in whatever way, thank you so much for participating, because remember, without your participation, without you there on the other end of this radio, other end of the video, other end of the phone, without your participation, we're just two dudes talking to each other. We might as well be on the corner holding up signs asking for money. Yeah.
That happens a lot in Denver.
Yes,
a lot
it
of
does.
dudes just talking to each other on street corners in the city of Denver. All
And
right.
we don't want, Jeff and I don't want to end up that way. You don't want us to do that.
We're
do
already
ya?
halfway there.
Exactly. I already dressed like I'm partly homeless.
So if you missed any part of the show, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast there. Is Joe Biden driving the United States to war with Russia via Ukraine? Colorado Democrats are looking to strengthen unions. And as Matt Gaetz getting the Brett Kavanaugh treatment by Democrats, all of that discussed, debated. We took your phone calls and texts, all at 710knus.com. You can download the podcast there. We'll continue to update you here on 710KNUS about the conviction of Jose Ibarra, 10 counts.
That's great.
Including murder of Laken Riley. Do you hold the Biden administration accountable on this? And as the sentencing comes down, 710KNUS will continue to update on that. You've got
Maybe
Cal
we do
Thomas
that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. On do you hold Biden responsible on this?
And I want to
It's a good
tomorrow
idea.
get into Jared Polis's take away all your cars plan. Because
Oh, hell yeah. We got to talk about that.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
good
gosh.
one. Oh, good. We got to do like 4 more hours now. How do we? We got to go.
That's
This, no, damn it.
All right. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Thanks for your time today. We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a good day.